Oh, it's great to be here on this Monday. Kevin, BJ, and Ben, glad you're making us a part of your day. Ben's holding a Hawks basketball. There could have been some potential Hawks news that we'll get to later in the show, but a lot to get to, needless to say, as we are now. It's game week. Well, for those who observe, I will say this in a nice way. If you like Florida State and you can't wait until Duquesne runs out that tunnel and plays the Knowles, or if you are on pins and needles for Hawaii Vandy, this week is for you. Or if you're like, man, give me some big-time football, like Nebraska and Illinois this week. Okay, this week's for you. Or you can say it really starts next week, and this is all just a ruse. But anyway, it is game week if you observe. If not, it's next week.
The college football season is here. Don't be like that. Look,
Ben, do the Gators play this week?
Okay,
They do not.
Okay.
It is not a full schedule. We know that. But given that, it's been quite some time since we've had college football. College football is happening this week. That's something to celebrate.
Do champions play on week 0?
I mean, somebody they're trying to break that trend. I mean, I'm just saying. I mean, is that?
I mean, the number one program in America is playing. I'm sorry, I take it all back.
We don't make excuses. We're gonna be number one program. How long? How?
If I was Clark Lee, I'd be making every excuse I could come up with.
How many days has Vanderbilt been in Hawaii? If they make them fly out there, get the hell beat out of them, and get right back on the plane, that ain't right. Give us a couple of days.
Oh, I would at least be spending a couple of days.
Like,
let me get in some beach time.
Thank God they Vanderbilt. Every one of those kids know, yes, they speak English in Hawaii. Don't say nothing crazy. What? I'm just saying.
Do you think Vanderbilt has a chance to win that game?
Yep.
Yeah.
Hold on.
Yeah.
Okay.
Listen, is Vanderbilt talking trash if they win it? What is Hawaii's mascot now? I don't.
They're the Rainbows or the Warriors. Are they the Warriors? Yeah.
I think Vanderbilt's got a chance. I know, Kevin, I don't know why we're opening the show with Vanderbilt.
I just happened to think of it because you said
last week you were saying like they're going to go winless again, and you were mad at Ben.
You said winless in the SEC.
Yeah, winless in the SEC. And that's one of those things where, I like weird outliers. Like, I hate it for Vandy, but like I'm kind of actively rooting for yet another season of no SEC wins.
I'm
not for those kids.
I'm not. Come on, man.
Because nothing says SEC like a team that hasn't won a game in 3 years.
They'll beat somebody.
Toughest league in America.
Said they were going to beat Missouri.
Yeah, I hope it is Missouri, not another team in the East. So,
boy, if they lose to Florida, or if Florida loses to them,
well, at the end of the day, I still go through Statesboro. I stop by sometimes, and hopefully I don't get noticed. Because if I do, they're gonna say, "Don't talk trash about the Eagles." Because if we don't want, okay, a couple of moons ago, went down there and had our way with.
Worse to lose to Vanderbilt now or Georgia Southern when you did.
Vandy.
Because I would agree with that.
Because at the end of the day, one has a story tradition. The other one, has a story to tell. Whoever's trying to listen. So I'm just saying.
With so much to get to here on the show, as it is game week for some, most everybody else, it'll be next week. A lot to get to with David Waters. Gators Breakdown will join us. Ben, your Gators apparently in a little interesting situation, down to maybe one quarterback as their backup goes down. We'll talk to David Waters about that. And you're a week out from a top 20 game or top 15 game, really, with Utah. Dave Choate, the Falcoholic, will join us coming up in hour number 2. Also, Chris Lowe, ESPN.com, will join us. We'll talk some college football with him. Bob Herrig, SI.com, will talk about the just crazy year that golf has had. And we talk about this with college football a lot of how much has changed in a year. NIL came in, and then a year later with the transfer portal, it's just been nuts. Golf has gone through something similar in kind of the way it's reshaped the sport. Bob Herrig, a big piece about that, will join us. And Michael, the Burner Turner, will join us in the final hour of the program as the Falcons take on the Jets tonight. Monday Night Football, game 2 of the preseason for the Falcons, fellas. What do you expect tonight? I know Mariota 2 for 2 in week 1, and then you turned it over to Desmond Ridder, and he was all right. He did fine. And I think both showed mobility with their legs. They are certainly way better than Matt Ryan in that regard. What are you looking for in week 2 against the Jets?
I'd like to see some productivity through the air throwing the football. And I know you had some, as you said, with Desmond Ridder, most specifically Marcus Mariota not throwing the ball a ton. But that's one of the big questions, right? When you look at Atlanta on paper right now, it's how's the passing game going to look? You know about Kyle Pitts. Kyle Pitts is Kyle Pitts, okay? But he's going to be facing Ben double teams, bracket coverage, whatever, all season. And I don't exactly know who's healthy or who's going tonight. We can look at the updated roster, but what about Drake London? Is Drake London going to have a game in the preseason where maybe he has 4 or 5 catches? I think that would be good for his confidence, good for his momentum. I don't know Bryan Edwards' status, but if he's out there, you want him to get some touches. You want him to be a number 1-ish type receiver. Olamide Zaccheaus. I mean, there are very few guys in the passing game who are back from last year. He's one of them. He's been in this system. I think you want Zaccheaus to be productive. How do we see Cordero Patterson used? How do we see maybe the second and third tight ends used? Felipe Franks, do we see him get a pass or two? Obviously, I think we would all say this before every Atlanta Falcons game, regular season or preseason. How's the pass rush look? Okay, how does the front 7 look? I think that goes without saying. Beyond that, though, I want to see some receivers making plays. I want to see some. Look, you have some talented guys. You went out. You got Damiere Byrd. You got Auden Tate, Bryan Edwards. You drafted Drake London. What, in the top 10? We know about Kyle Pitts, but if you're asking me tonight, where do I? And Ben, correct me if I'm wrong. Normally, it was game 3 that was the dress rehearsal. Now that there's only 3 games, game 2 is the dress rehearsal. Mm-hmm. So this is probably going to be the closest thing that you have to a regular season game. It's on Monday Night Football. I know it's not, real Monday Night Football, but you're still on Monday Night Football. You want to look good. You want to play good. I want to see some big plays in the passing game.
I want to see the offensive identity. I think sometimes we forget what Matty Ice, even though he's no longer here, what he did for this offense for well over a decade. He gave you an offensive identity. You knew what to expect because I knew what to expect from the quarterback position. As you mentioned, Kevin, Marcus Mariota, is almost like they didn't want to let him do too. They treated Marcus Mariota like he was the rookie, and they let Desmond Ridder kind of look like the veteran because they gave him more plays. Obviously, Desmond Ridder played longer, but I want to see some offensive production not named Kyle Pitts. I know what Kyle Pitts is, no matter who. I mean, they did inter-squad scrimmages. Coach Salah and those guys up there, in New York, they were saying, look, this guy is a freaking unicorn. He's a creative player. I want to see Cordell Patterson. I want to see the running game. I want to see Felipe Franks, as you mentioned. I want to see consistent offensive line play because it don't matter. Marcus Mariota, Desmond Ridder, Kyle Pitts, Cordell Patterson, Auden Tate, Bryan Edwards, it's Drake London. It don't mean nothing if that offensive line is not in tune with each other. Can they move guys off the ball on 3rd and short? Can they protect Mariota or Desmond Ridder if and when they got to drop back and pass it? Because let's face it, if you thought Atlanta was an offensive-minded team in 2021, what you think to be in 2022? It's a bunch of key contributors on defense that weren't on the Falcons last year. The key team, you're talking about Lorenzo Carter. I mean, Marlon Davidson. I mean, it's been some guys that have been very, very high draft picks that got to go out there and live up to it. So I want to see some offensive identity. I want to see, like an attitude, because this is the thing, right? People talking about, hey, it is the Jets. Yeah, it's the Jets. That's right. Not the Jets we grew up in. Not the Jets we grew up watching where they win, Super Bowls. This is the Zach Wilson Jets, even though he's hurt right now. I mean, I know Kevin going to be conflicted because his favorite quarterback all time, Joe Flacco. Like, Joe Flacco is the guy that you can't get rid of. Like, he won't go away. Kevin going to be like, man, I'm conflicted. There he is right there.
There's no conflict.
But I will say tonight, I want to see him establish a run. I want to see him establish a line of scrimmage. I want to see the defense get off the field on 3rd down. Please get off the field because now you're trying to start building confidence. Because no matter what, you got guys scratching and clawing to try to make it to that 3rd, preseason game to hopefully make it on the roster. A lot of these guys are not going to be on the Falcons, but show other teams what you're good at, or make it hard for Arthur Smith and those guys to get rid of Terry Fontenot and those guys to get rid of you. But I want to see offensive identity. I want to see offensive productivity, not named Kyle Pitts. I want to see the O-line, the D-line get some push. And I want to see, like you said, BJ, I want to see the pass rush. D coordinator come out talking trash, talking about we were top 15 this, top whatever that. Yeah, well, you ain't talking about this recent defense. I mean, drive around Atlanta, the only reason why you know who the hell Grady Jarrett is because they put his name underneath his face. That is Grady Jarrett, just in case you didn't know. The most recognizable defensive player, not named A.J. Terrell, is a D tackle that is undersized. That is Atlanta's defense right now. And on offense, yeah.
And first time out last week, 10 plays, gave up a touchdown.
Yeah. And
against Detroit.
They went, listen, if you ever seen a hot knife, some butter, it just, hey,
but
man, it was bad.
All this about Drake London because I think there were a lot of wide differing opinions on the Falcons taking him. Look, great production at SC.
Yeah.
Big physical body. I know while I was out, y'all had some, I think D. Orlando said we haven't seen him, go down the field yet.
D. Orlando's assessment, BJ, quote, he can run the deep ball. They just won't throw it to him.
But do you have to make getting him the football, assuming he goes tonight, a priority?
Yes.
I mean, he's a top 10 pick. I know you have Kyle Pitts, and Kyle Pitts is the number one, but at receiver, he's got to be your number one, right?
Yes.
Drake London, and I mean, Ben, you know this better than me. I'm just speculating from afar, but I don't know that momentum matters team-wise in the preseason, like if the team wins or loses. But I think for certain players, including rookies, if you can have some big plays in the preseason, that gives you some confidence moving into the regular season. I think it would really help him and the offense to try to get him the ball tonight and see if he can make some big plays. I know he's capable.
Yeah, well, that's the problem, though. The thing about a guy like Drake London, all I keep hearing is he has the potential to do this, the potential to do that. Yeah, well, potential has a lot to do with, perception. We all have potential. The reality of the situation is, what do you do when it's time? Get him out there. They're not going to put two guys on him until he can prove he can get open on one guy. You get doubled when the guy in front of you doesn't matter. He is the number one receiver because of where he got drafted, but that's about it. Drake London going to have to get out there because Kevin, going back to the tape, it's the same two plays, the 50-50 ball, and I don't know who I think he was going against, UCLA DBs. Yeah. So I'm not saying that UCLA can't play DB. I'm just saying that's not Jalen Ramsey. That's not Xavier Howard. That's not the guy. That's not that's not Lattimore and company. These are the guys he's going to get week in and week out. That's not even talking about out of conference. So for me, I want to see Drake London get out there. And this is the thing about the deep ball. Just throw it to him. You don't got to complete it. The hardest ball to complete in life is the deep ball down the sideline. But I want to throw it to him to let him know he don't get the lollygag out there. I mean, we're going to throw it to you. I don't care what the coverage is, we're going to throw it to you. That's what you can do in preseason because the final result doesn't matter. But the notion of he can do it, we just haven't thrown it to him yet. Well, show me he can do it.
We've got a lot to get to. We'll continue to talk about this Falcons team as they go into week 2 of the preseason. David Waters is going to join us coming up in about 15 minutes. We'll break down Florida as they get ready for Utah. Do they have some backup quarterback issues? If you lose Anthony Richardson, where do you go at that point? He'll join us coming up later here in hour number 1. 912-342-7184, your number to join us. Hit us up on Twitter at Pigskin Radio. And we are also streaming live ESPNCoastal.com and on Facebook, Twitter, and YouTube. Good to have you on this Monday. Falcons and Jets coming up later tonight in preseason game number 2. Boy, you talk about I normally don't really care about the record and the way you look in the preseason, but the Falcons have the Lions, who they beat. You have the Jets, and then you play the Jags on Saturday.
Just
so
calm down.
The
Jags only lost by 1 point on Saturday.
I will say this: like every time I watch the Jags, like BJ, you're a fan. Can they just have like a normal score? I tuned in the other day. It's like whatever it was to 8. I'm like, what? Can the Jags know like you can get 7? Like it's okay. Like the other week they had 11.
Yep.
And they have 8.
They had a safety on Saturday.
Mm-hmm. All I know is listen. No. Listen.
BJ won't say this on the air, but he is already like Trayvon Walker.
I know. I'm about to say, listen.
Has he not looked good? No, listen. No. Okay, this is the second.
Here we go.
No, this is the second time you've changed the segment. Okay, now listen. I have said, and I said in the office in the show meeting that it is the preseason. However, when you look at some of the Jaguars' recent first-round picks, they haven't always panned out.
Yeah.
And I think it's okay to say in the preseason, Trayvon Walker has looked really good. That's all I'm saying. I'm not saying he's going to be an all-pro.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not one of those guys who's saying he's going to have 12, 15 sacks. I'm saying in the preseason, he's looked really good.
Are you going to bring out the Jags gear, though? Because a couple of years ago, every day, Saxonville and
it stopped fitting.
They stopped fitting?
Yeah.
So it's laundry day every day until Jacksonville start with no. You love Trayvon Walker the same reason why you loved Dante Fowler or Tavon Bryan, because you had to. Anybody that draft your team, anybody that draft the player, you got to like him. No, Trayvon Walker has looked good. I'm not.
That's all.
I'm not saying anything. But listen.
Well, some people. No. What are you pointing?
Did he not come up to us and he goes, "Man, Trayvon Walker, he is looking good."
I mean, talking for loss. That boy, they eating. I mean, all I'm saying is this: when first game, Hall of Fame game, he gets the long arm sack, and it was a sack heard around the world.
All I said is he's looked good. I didn't say anything after the Hall of Fame.
Now hold on.
After the Hall of Fame.
Now what's gonna happen with Chason calling the show? You gonna pick up the phone?
I mean, look, we're still.
Or you gonna say sorry?
We're still hoping for big things out of Chason. I mean,
I will say this: the Jacksonville Jaguars are infatuated with D linemen. I mean, it goes back to Derek Harvey, Tavon Bryan, Dante Fowler Jr. I mean, you talk about Josh Allen, you talk about Trayvon Walker, you talk about Chason. Huh?
Where did Bryan end up?
I don't know. I'm not going to tell you guys the kind of things BJ said about Tavon Bryan. I'm gonna leave it off the air, but just know the kind of things Tavon Bryan did is that's the they don't do the come on man segment no more on Monday night, but it was rough.
The Jaguars have needed help alongside Josh Allen for some time.
Yep.
I think you've talked about that.
Yep.
You've talked about that. Yes, I am not saying that he's going to be this superstar. All I'm saying is that he has looked good.
He looked good.
Action.
He looked good.
What's wrong with that?
Y'all
have a sack prediction total? Have you heard me say he's going to be this or
that?
Whoa,
okay. Well, let's just do that. Since you're going, if he gets double-digit sacks this year, are we going to hit the end of it? No.
If he gets 10 or more sacks, that'll be a great thing for
I'm just saying, too, when y'all we're not too many years removed from having Unique Ngakoue.
I mean,
Calais
you're an
Campbell.
AFC South fan. You should want the Jaguars to do well. It's like the SEC.
No. We also a couple of years removed from the Smurfs versus the Mustards on Thursday Night Football with the Color Rush uniforms. And I'm just saying this. When the Jacksonville Jaguars are doing, because the AFC South and the NFC South, well, no, I don't want to compare the two, because the AFC South has a bunch of irrelevant teams. The only relevant team in the AFC South might be the Colts. It ain't Houston. It ain't Jacksonville, right? And the show as hell ain't the Titans. It ain't going, as a guy that played there, but I will say, BJ, y'all also got the league leading tackler from a year ago. I'm not even going to try to say his name because I can't say his name.
Listen. There's better talent on this team. You got Devin Lloyd.
Yeah.
You're talking
Zay
about
Jones.
You're talking about
Christian
Kirk,
Evan Ingram.
Is healthy. Brandon Scherf's an all-pro. I mean, I think you've gotten better. Now, as we talked about it, I'm looking at my show notes. It says talk about the Falcons tonight on the game.
Well, talk about it then. Talk about it.
But what I'm saying is,
you get to talk about when they play each other.
They got Evan Ingram, who's got.
They do got Evan.
All I'm saying is, I think it's fair to expect a little bit of progress.
Are you telling me this is a thing?
All right, Kevin. No, hold on. No. Let's switch it to what we're supposed to be talking about.
Fine.
Who has more wins this year, the Falcons or Jags?
Ooh, that is some low-hanging fruit.
Oh, yeah, that's tough. Wow. think the Falcons are going to start off really, really rough. I actually do think the Jags have to be better just by proxy. Like, they were the dumpster fire of all dumpster fires. They have, I think, good players with the biggest distraction we've seen probably in the NFL in quite some time from a coaching standpoint last year.
And we didn't even mention that. You go from Urban Meyer.
No, I said I think that if the Jags can win 6-7 games, that would be great progress, something you probably want to see. They won 3 last year. If the Falcons win 6-7 games, I think that's probably a heck of a coaching job there by Arthur Smith. Really, because, again, you have holes on the offensive line. I mean, I appreciate Dean P saying don't doubt us on defense, but I didn't see much doubt erasure in week 1 of the preseason, and that was against the Lions. No offense, Detroit. That was the Lions.
Who got a better quarterback? No, BJ, let's just
tonight is the Jets.
No.
If you get, seriously,
if you're position by
position,
if your starters play tonight, and the Jets go right down the field,
come on,
and put up points against what is allegedly your number 1 defense. That's 2 weeks in a row against bad teams from last year that aren't expected to be much better this year because they're rebuilding. Don't sell me on the fact that the Falcons' defense is going to be better.
All right, who got a better quarterback, Jags or Atlanta?
I think the Jags do.
All right, who has?
Hold on, everybody participates.
I would say.
Right now it's not close. Marcus Mariota hasn't played very much football in 2 years in a row.
I'm not even gonna do running back. Seems as though the Falcons. Yeah, because the Falcons don't even have a real running back yet.
James Robinson apparently is going to be the backup, and he's had back-to-back 1,000-yard years.
Now here's the thing: better tight end.
Now, are you saying tight ends or everybody in receivers is one?
Well, I mean, all I know is Evan Ingram and the Oshag Hennessy brother.
All right,
because I don't even know who y'all back up.
If it's tight ends, it's the Falcons.
Okay, all right. Ho, receiver.
It's the Jags.
Hold on. You just said it's the Jags.
And Zay Jones and Marvin Jones
but it's,
and Laviska Shenault.
All right, I mean, I'll put you over the top because a lot of now Zay and Christian, this is their first time in a star role, even though Zay Jones might end up being the number 1. All right.
Kevin, I mean, any disagreement?
No. I will disagree when I see a disagreement.
O-line.
Oh, God.
I mean, the Jaguars aren't.
No, they're better. No, they're better. They're better. Yeah, 100%.
All right, here it is. All right, now. D-line.
I mean, straight D-line. Both teams run a 3-4. I know it's a hybrid variation. Look, I think I think the Falcons have Grady Jarrett, and that's probably the difference.
No, that's it.
Well, I mean,
no, they just call it what it is.
Everybody else is unproven. Yes.
Look, I wish Taven Bryan the best.
Yeah.
It did not work out in Jacksonville as a first-round pick. They went out and got a couple of free agents.
Yeah.
But I think because you have Grady Jarrett as an all-pro, D-line, I will go Falcons.
It's Jags. It ain't even close. I'm going to tell you why. It's
Jags is way better defensively.
Josh
Allen's a linebacker.
Yeah, but he also can play defensive end.
Well, you didn't clarify that, or we can.
He's a defensive.
No.
When you think of Josh Allen, when I think of linebacker,
okay, so you're just saying front seven.
Just front. No. Josh Allen he can play with his hand in the dirt. He gonna do what Lorenzo Carter gonna do.
Then I need you to clarify. Are you saying front seven or defensive line?
Defensive lines, but defensive line and a 3-4, the linebacker, the outside linebackers are part of it.
With the outside linebackers, it's the Jaguars by far.
And not only is that, y'all linebackers are by far.
They are. Yeah.
I mean, Devin Lloyd is by. I mean, I think DBs, corners.
If you separate, Casey Hayward and AJ Terrell is pretty good. Now, I like the group Jacksonville has. I really do. And I think it's probably close. But if you're talking about Terrell and Hayward, I might lean Falcons.
Safeties.
Well, I mean, you got Rayshon Jenkins. I'm a big fan of Andre Cisco, who got to start late last year out of Syracuse for Jacksonville.
It's Jacksonville. I don't even know why are you trying to sugarcoat it?
No, I'm just trying to talk it out.
All right, I
know you're a big fan of Richie Grant.
What about
are the Falcons a fan of Richie Grant? He hasn't done anything.
Nothing. What about kicker?
It's Youngway.
Oh, that's the Falcons.
The Jags had to cut a guy because he hit cheerleaders with the football on a missed field goal. He hit it on the sideline.
Position by position, we agree the Jaguars are a better team.
Much better.
Yeah, that was not ever the argument.
That was not. I mean, the fact that we only, if we saw, better better corners. Who gonna rush the pass for Atlanta? I don't know either. I woke up one day last week and said over under 6 sacks for Lorenzo Carter. I said, is that what we do? 6 sacks in 17 games? Me and Kevin went through all the sacks, BJ, one day when you were on the show. And I'm telling you, 6 sacks for the Falcons, boy, you might as well be an all-pro because they ain't getting no 3 guys will give you a sack and a half. that will be a half a sack each all year. Like, I'm just saying they're going to have
That's true. It was awful.
It was bad.
They have their leading sack art. Do you call it a sack artist? I feel like I'm working at Subway. Like a sandwich artist.
The top 10 picks in the NFL supposed to find a way to play each other in the regular season. Let the bottom feeders brawl for it all.
The sack leader from the Falcons returning had what 2.5 sacks.
Hey, look,
from a year ago.
All I know is the Jags, 0-3 in the preseason.
Mm-hmm.
Falcons are undefeated. If they win tonight, they're 2-0.
Who has the most sacks in one game for the Falcons in history?
Adrian Claiborne?
Mm-hmm. You know how many? He had 4 sacks in one game. You know how many sacks he had that year?
4.
4.5. I'm just saying you can't.
It all depends on who you get him.
4.5.
All depends on who you get him against. We'll come back. We're talking college football. David Waters, Gators Breakdown, joins us next. It's 3 and Out. Good to have you back here. It is 3 and Out. Kevin, BJ, and Ben. College football is right around the corner. Actually coming up this weekend. For some, everyone else coming up next weekend with the big open of the college football season. And joining us here, a lot of news coming out of Gainesville from Gators Breakdown. David Waters joins us here on 3 and Out. David, welcome. How are you?
I'm good, guys. Just counting down those days. Like you said, couple more Saturdays away.
Absolutely. And again, Florida's got some issues, I guess, at quarterback. Jack Miller, Ohio State transfer, goes down with injury. Where does that leave the Gators? And obviously that's Anthony Richardson at the stop spot. If the worst happens, where do they go?
Yeah, of course, this season's going to ride on Anthony Richardson anyway. Could Jack Miller come in and win a game like Missouri, Vanderbilt, Florida State? Maybe could you even go that? Could he win that game? Sure. But at the beginning of the season, when Florida has Utah and Florida has Kentucky, not to have the guy that was supposed to be the backup quarterback, but Jack Miller, the transfer, is going to miss the first couple of games there. So you got to look and see who Florida has there, and there's a lot of unproven quarterbacks. And you have right now, it looks like walk-on Kyle Engel. He's a redshirt junior. Might be the guy earning those some of those backup reps there, along with Jalen Kitna. He's a redshirt freshman. Recruited by Dan Mullen a couple years ago. Those are the two main guys. And you got to go throw Max Brown in there, a true freshman as well. I think he's probably behind the other two. But as I said, not a lot of experience. If Florida has to go that route, if the worst happens with Anthony Richardson versus Utah versus Kentucky, Florida has to go way down the depth chart. And, good thing Billy Napier has a lot of experience running the ball, because that's a lot, of course, you can't rely fully on that. But ground game for Florida would have to be even more heightened if Anthony Richardson goes down with the inexperience there at the backup quarterback position.
David, with Jack Miller, do we know how serious the injury is or how long potentially he might be out?
Billy Napier said probably the first couple games, and then you got to see how he rehabs. So that's where we're looking at right now. And that's, like I said, that's two big games. That's Utah and Kentucky. Your chances of winning those with him anyway is probably slim, but it's still your better chance compared to the few guys that I already mentioned, though. So, yeah, he was in fall camp. He hit his thumb on a helmet, so that's what basically caused it right there. Has already had the procedure, so, of course, just recovery and rehab there. So you're looking at about, 3-4 weeks right now of the soonest, he'd be able maybe to even play a game.
And David, when you think about a guy like Anthony Richardson, obviously, when you look at what he can do with his feet, you look at what he can do with his arm. Is that going to limit the play calling for him, or does Billy Napier say, "Listen, he's too much of a weapon to take away any one of his assets"?
Yeah, Ben, Napier has said that. He's going to play Anthony Richardson like he plans on playing. And look, you have to. I mean, we all saw the explosion with Anthony Richardson, with his arm, with his legs last year. Now we just need to see it on a more consistent basis, a more protect the ball kind of basis, and we'll see where that takes Florida. But that ceiling is very high. But yeah, Ben, I'm a big believer. You don't coach scared. You don't know if an injury is going to happen or not. And if you could be safe in some areas, okay. But for the most part, you got to coach a game like it's your last, and that's especially early in the season for Florida with this schedule. So I do believe Billy Napier. I mean, look, Florida's got a run game. They got an experienced offensive line. They have a deep running back room. Florida's going to run the ball a good bit anyway, but I do think it opens up a bit more than what Billy Napier has shown in his time at head coach in Louisiana. I think he can open it more with Anthony Richardson. So I do think in the end he will rely on Anthony Richardson's legs. There's big plays waiting to happen right there, but maybe some of those third and short situations, maybe take the ball out of Richardson's hands a little bit and rely on those running backs instead of taking some of those unnecessary hits.
David, obviously Utah coming up a week from Saturday. Does Florida believe they can run the ball against Utah, who's obviously got a tremendous defense?
Yeah, so right here in Jacksonville, where I'm at, of course, Devin Lloyd, he was the first round linebacker taken from Utah, and some Utah media there says he's the best linebacker in program history. So Utah has to replace him. And then one storyline for that is Florida or former Florida linebacker Mahmoud Diabate. He's looking to take over for Devin Lloyd there in Utah. He transferred to Utah, and in his very first game for Utah, will return back to Gainesville to play the Gators. So, and then, as I mentioned, Florida has an experienced offensive line, a very deep running back room, a a style of play that they want to run the ball, given Billy Napier's past. So I think it sets up well for Florida to maybe prove how much of the loss is Devin Lloyd at that linebacker spot there for Utah, and all the experience Florida has. You have Osiris Torrance, who's all on kind of preseason award watch list. Almost every guy at every other position played a good bit last year, and Florida ran the ball really good at times last year. Go back and look at the Alabama game and the Tennessee game, those back-to-back games before the wheels fell off, and you saw the potential that Florida had running the ball last year. They can capture that and live up to Billy Napier's expectations for his style of play. You know, I do think Florida has something there with that running back room. You have Montrell Johnson, who has a lot of experience in this Billy Napier offense, coming over from Louisiana as a transfer running back. Lorenzo Lingard, Naquan Wright have been on this Florida roster. Naquan Wright has a lot of SEC experience the last couple of years. So there's a lot of experience in this Florida run game. And I do think, that they'll test to see if Utah has that linebacker core ready for this run game.
David, this Florida defense, I mean, when you look at the guys that are back, Javon Dexter and Brenton Cox and Ventrell Miller and Trey Dean, I mean, how good can this Florida defense be?
I think it's addition by subtraction already because you don't have Todd Grantham on the sidelines. I think that'll help Florida in and of itself. But, of course, just gotta get the basics down and be a more physical defense. Florida had trouble tackling the whole time Todd Grantham was defensive coordinator at Florida. And that's been a big point of emphasis so far in fall camp as being a more physical team. And Billy Napier wasn't necessarily happy about that in the last scrimmage this past Saturday. Said it's been pretty fine. It's been pretty good all throughout fall camp, but in the second scrimmage was a little bit of an issue right there with the physicality and some tackling. So he says, get lined up. They got to work on that part of it right there. But kind of the first time it's reared its head in this past scrimmage there. So, but yeah, a lot of experience at linebacker with Ventrell Miller, the back end with Trey Dean and Rashad Torrance, Javon Dexter there in the middle. And it does seem like, Brenton Cox is getting rave, and I mean rave reviews so far in fall camp. I've even heard him labeled as the best player on the defense so far. So that means he needs to elevate his play because if he's the best player on Florida's defense and he has shown what he has shown so far, that may not scream a great Florida defense. But if he's elevated his play like I have heard he has so far in fall camp, then Florida's got a lot of experience there on defense at each level. It's all got to come together.
Pearsall, Whitmore, Shorter, Henderson, Zipper, and those guys. Those guys are going to be catching the rock from Anthony Richardson, who has stood out in fall camp, and who's going to be that guy from? I know Pearsall came over, in as a transfer. I know he's dealt with injury bugs here early in camp, but who has stood out a little bit to you, David? Who you think is going to be that go-to guy, kind of that alpha dog to kind of show everybody else or kind of lead the way?
Yeah, Ben, I mean, you mentioned Pearsall. He had really good beginning of fall camp before he got hurt. He's still the guy I look at that can take the screen yard 60 play or take the screen play 60 yards or catch her 8-yard route over the middle and take it to the distance right after that. But since he's been out, I've been hearing really good things about Xavier Henderson there. Of course, he's got a lot of experience in this Gator offense as well. I believe his third season now for the Gators, and one of the highly rated recruits from Dan Mullen at the wide receiver position. So time for him to step up and live up to that expectation. Brother of course, Christopher Henderson, the former Florida Gator defensive back, now playing for the Panthers in the NFL. But I've been hearing his name a lot, with Shorter also kind of dealing with some injuries lately as well, and Pearsall kind of dealing with some injuries. He should be back pretty soon. Xavier Henderson really stepped up, and with that experience, it's about time. It is about time to start hearing his name as a reliable receiver for these Gators.
David, I mean, the last couple of days, I mean, a lot of former Gators been back. I mean, the talk has been obviously this new facility. I mean, I don't know if you had a chance to go on this thing, but I mean, I've been looking at it on Twitter from the locker rooms. I hear they got a former players locker room. I've seen this new press room or whatever, this screen that Billy Napier's in front of them. Have you had a chance to go to the facility? And what you like about that thing?
Yeah, Ben, I have not had a chance to step in foot with it yet. They did have the first media session there yesterday. But I was not able to take part there. But I did have some early images this week before they were supposed to be released and all that, and checking it out. And yeah, definitely about time Florida caught up with the times there with the facility, the Big Mecca, the Taj Mahal facility there. And look, I mean, does it play a difference? Absolutely. It plays a role in recruiting and all that. But Billy Napier has said, look, for us, it's more about we save a lot of time. You know, Florida's locker room that they were using was in the stadium, and the practice field was a 9-minute walk. You had to walk through the O'Connell Center parking lot to get to the practice field. And Ben, you know that walk very well. But that's what players were having to do. And now everything is together. The practice field is attached to this new facility. All the locker rooms are right there. Florida get dressed and go out there and practice instead of wasting 18 minutes every practice walking back and forth. So Billy Napier said, no, the biggest advantage so far is not recruiting. It's just the logistics of the players and the staff that's already there.
David Waters, Gators Breakdown, joining us here on 3 and Out. David, finally, we're inside 2 weeks to go. Given all the transition that's taken place, new system, new way of doing things, you do have a big-time opponent, I think, top 15, top 10, coming to the Swamp at night. How do you think folks inside the building feel about their chances come a week from Saturday?
I think they feel pretty good. You know, Billy Napier, from what I've been told, really loves the potential of Anthony Richardson at quarterback. And with an experienced offensive line, some experience and really deep running game. I think there's a lot of things that he likes about this team that just he has a lot of experience with so far. And then just the athletes that he has at Florida compared to what he has at Louisiana. I think he's got to like the matchup there versus Utah. Right now, get them at home. You get the hot and humid weather. That should play a part for Florida as well, and in front of a sold-out crowd. So the Swamp will be ready. The fans will be ready. I think this staff is ready too, from everything I've been able to hear. But you can feel good until you run out there on that field and get punched in the mouth. And how do you respond? And we just don't know that yet. We can guess and we can feel good all we want to. But until somebody else with a red helmet hits you in the mouth, you just don't know how it's going to go. So, we'll know a lot more in 2 weeks. Just a bunch of guessing at this point.
David Waters, Gators Breakdown, our guest here on 3 and Out. David, appreciate the time. Thanks so much.
Hey, guys, thank you so much.
Appreciate it. David Waters joining us here on 3 and Out. And BJ, quickly, 30 seconds or so, 2 weeks out, basically. How do you feel about Florida going up against Utah? Again, a program, I hate to say rebuilding, but a program looking to go back to the national discussion versus one that's obviously there. I mean, they were a whisker away from being very much in it last year.
I love the matchup. I think it's going to be fascinating for both teams. We've seen some national media people who have Utah picked to make the playoff. But let me tell you something. Florida at night, a new energy, Coach Napier, Anthony Richardson. I think the Gators are going to be ready to play. Look, it's going to be tough to beat Utah. They're a preseason top 10 team for a reason, but I think this is going to be a great game, one of the highlights of the early college football schedule.
Anthony Richardson, is he ready for the big times? I would say yes. Is he ready to go ahead? He understands that the hopes and dreams of an entire university and fan base is on his shoulders. Gainesville native. Where's number 15? I don't think the spotlight is going to be too big for him.
And we will see a week from Saturday what happens there in the Swamp. This is 3 and Out on the Southern Pigskin Radio Network. Good to have you here, 3 and Out on this Monday. We'll get to take 3 coming up right around the corner. Dave Choate, the Falcoholic, will join us in hour number 2. Chris Lowe, Bob Herrig, and Michael the Burner Turner, all coming up in a very busy final hour of the show. But Ben, something a lot of people have been talking about on Twitter today was the block on Kayvon Thibodeaux in the preseason. People saying it's dirty, or was it not dirty? Basically, the gist I've gotten, if you played football, you're like, that's a tough play, but it's not dirty. And everybody else is like, oh, it was in. It's kind of, I guess, how sensitive we've become to certain plays where it's like it's in and around the knee area, or if it's in and around the head area, we're going to be a little bit more, I guess, sensitive towards that. But your thoughts as a guy who played football, dirty or is that fine?
No, it wasn't dirty at all. I think what happens is too, it's because of the player it happened against. Kayvon Thibodeaux got caught looking in the backfield, looking at the quarterback, running back exchange, and the guy that was blocking him was a tight end coming from the left to the right, and he just got low. I mean, it's a block that tight ends don't usually like doing because everybody's stepping to the right and he's coming back to the left. Kayvon Thibodeaux, I mean, he tried to like embrace, brace for the hit, and his foot got stuck in the ground. It's football. One-on-one. It's not a crackback block. It's not a dirty block. And look, you're not gonna like everything that happens in football. So the people that's saying that that's Bush League, you don't know football. People that saying that it's dirty, you don't know football. The tight end, that play literally happens once a game, not just in college, not just in pro, but it'll go all the way down to Pop Warner. All it is basically the line. As you look at everybody stepping to the left, the tight end probably came in motion from the left to the right, back to the left, to make it look like, it's going to be a run play to the left. The entire line stepped to the because Kayvon Thibodeaux didn't get blocked, he's thinking, okay, maybe I'm just a free runner. No, the tight end came from the backside and he got low. The tight end showed you that, look, man, that tight end is saying, look, I'm doing my best to take care of him. He ain't trying to hit him in the helmet. He went low, and the thing is, his Kayvon Thibodeaux foot got caught in the ground. No harm, no foul. Right after the game, Kayvon Thibodeaux was on the sideline kind of making a joke about it. People is making the most about it is everybody's looking for every reason to call foul. No, that's about as football of a play as you're going to see. The tight end, they're trying to fool him, which they did fool him. He was looking to the left. The tight end is coming back right. He's looking at the quarterback, running back exchange, and he got hit. He got hit low, but if his foot don't get caught in the ground, this ain't even he'll miss like 3 to 4 weeks. I think he got like a sprained MCL. No, I think his ACL, PCL are intact. But Kayvon Thibodeaux is understanding real quick. The National Football League is different. You got to be ready on every single play. I wish him a speedy recovery, but to everybody jumping down the tight end's throat saying it is dirty, no, that's not dirty. Just because we say it's dirty, 7 million people probably done seen about now. It is football one-on-one, and I guarantee you, he's going to hope that because this is the thing about the football. I get hurt a certain play. I want that play to come back around again so I can get it out of my mind so he can move on. Kayvon will be just fine.
And again, a lot of people commenting on that from the preseason. Falcons and Jets coming up later tonight, Monday Night Football preseason week number 2 for the Atlanta Falcons. We'll see how much we see of Mariota and Desmond Ridder. We'll talk about that and more when we take 3 on the flip side. It's 3 and Out on the Southern Pigskin Radio Network. Good to have you back here on this Monday, hour 2. We've got David Cho, the Falcoholic, going to join us ahead of the Falcons and Jets coming up later tonight for preseason game number 2. So he'll join us in about 30 minutes here on 3 and Out. That being said, let's take 3 here on 3 and Out. All right, fellas, take 1. Reportedly, the Hawks offered John Collins, DeAndre Hunter, and a first-round pick to the Nets for Kevin Durant. Now, I understand this is one of those where you're probably like, hey, we tried, but would you be interested if the Hawks could pull something like that off for just that package?
Absolutely, yes. I mean, if you're talking about Trae Young, DeJounte Murray, and Kevin Durant, I mean, look, I'm not saying that.
What if you had James Harden, Kyrie, and Kevin Durant? That would be an awesome team. Imagine the championships they could win with that team.
I'm not saying every season in the history of a player's career has been a success, but he's one of the great scorers of a generation. He's a Hall of Famer. He's still, I think, in the relative prime of his career. I mean, look, John Collins has been a good player for Atlanta. There have been stretches where he's been a great player for Atlanta. I don't think that I would consider him like irreplaceable. DeAndre Hunter's been good, has had stretches where he's been really good, but I think is still trying to establish a role or whatever. And you yourself on the air have said draft picks in the NBA are meaningless unless they're in the top 5. You've said that.
They are.
So if you're talking about, in the words of Kevin Thomas, a meaningless draft pick, John Collins and DeAndre Hunter for Kevin Durant, yes, I would absolutely do that. Yes. Now, do I think that's realistic? No. Do I think the Nets would entertain that? No. I think it's going to take a lot more than that. But look, like John Collins, like DeAndre Hunter, I know Hunter still young, probably has maybe a little more upside. But if you're talking about Kevin Durant, at worst, is he a top 5, top 6 player in the NBA at worst? Yes, of course you would do that deal.
Of course you're gonna do that. I don't know. This look, Kevin Durant gets somebody.
Looking at
No. Kevin Durant. At the end of the day, I mean, his last name might as well be a Kardashian. He is a lot to deal with. He is. Now, the thing is he a prima donna away from basketball? Yes. Is he a hell of a player on the court? Yes. And just like, and this is just me, BJ, tell me if I'm stretching here. He's not the man in Atlanta, just like he wasn't a man when he was in Golden State. He's going to have to get used to the fact that Trigger Trae is the man. He's going to get his touches, but Kevin Durant is better when he don't have to, while he is the focal point, he don't have to be who everybody's putting on. He don't seem to do well when he has to lead the squad. Atlanta is Trae's team.
Yeah,
let's go ahead and put it out there. Does that mean that Trae is better than Kevin Durant? No. There ain't too many people better than Kevin Durant. But Kevin Durant needs to go to a place to where he can try to win it, show that he can win a championship on a team that has never won one without him. Oh, my God. If Kevin Durant came to Atlanta, I know it ain't going to happen.
Not going to happen.
But if Kevin Durant won a championship with Trigger Trae,
I think this is the front office out there floating ideas. Say, hey, we tried. We're trying.
If Kevin Durant wouldn't do all this crazy stuff, maybe some of these trades to go through, it's his fault.
All right, moving along. Take 2. I'll give you a minute to think about your answer here, but week 0 is upon us in college football. Okay? Week 0 is upon us. What's the best game this weekend, college football?
Let's see if the front running shoes going to come on with this one.
Given that I haven't studied and memorized the
that's why I said I'll give you a minute.
I'm gonna tell you the one I think it is.
All right, you go ahead.
I'm gonna go Northwestern Nebraska.
That's what I said. Illinois. Is it Northwestern Illinois? Isn't it?
Yeah.
I will look it up to make sure.
It's Northwestern.
Because I think I said it backwards.
It's Northwestern and Nebraska. This is why. BJ and Kevin. There was a guy one time. He was at UCF. He was balling. His name was Kirk Frost. You have not heard from him since he went back to his alma mater. Somebody needs to stop.
Scott Frost.
We
are butchering names.
His brother. I'm talking about his brother Kirk. I'm sorry. Scott Frost went back to Nebraska. And we haven't heard a lot from him since. It's always this is the year. They come out, lose the game one in a head scratcher. But I think they got to. I think obviously they're not going to make a lot of noise in their conference. But if I got to pick a week 0 game, sorry Vanderbilt, sorry Hawaii, I'm going to go with Northwestern and Nebraska.
Okay, Vanderbilt and Hawaii. that's an interesting game for a couple of reasons.
10:30 at night. Stay up
Right.
late.
Well, first and foremost, you got to stay up late, okay? And
Box scores coming in.
good luck to all three of us for making it, making it all the way through. If it starts at 10:30, that means it's ending at what?
1:30 in the morning.
1:45.
0% chance.
But look, you can kind of watch it half asleep. But look, seriously, Clark Lee just said at SEC Media Days we're going to be the best program in the country. All right, well, you got a unique challenge in week 1. You have Hawaii. A lot of people are saying you're going to go winless in SEC play. A lot of people are saying, it's a wash in the league. You want to change that talk? You want to validate a little bit of the offseason optimism? Go get a dub. Go beat what's been. I mean, Hawaii is normally a bowl team. Hawaii is normally a pretty decent program. I think if you can win that game, that at least gets the attention of some in the SEC. I'm not saying that means you're going to be the best program in the country, like Clark Lee's saying, but I think that at least gets people's attention. It says, hey, that's a good win for Vanderbilt, a team that people had very low expectations for, and they just went all the way across the country and then some, won a game at 10:30 at night, and it's not like they've had a ton of wins in recent years. So I think that would be a major step in the right direction. So give me Vandy, Hawaii.
No, the best game is at 4:00 on Saturday afternoon. It's Wyoming and Illinois, and that's not. I don't even think Nebraska, Northwestern. I mean, at least Wyoming is like a pseudo. It's like a mid-major against a Big Ten team, and Wyoming's probably better than Illinois.
Well, I mean,
but as far as like competitive on the field game,
a Power 5 team. Hawaii's a good mid-major.
I'm not watching Hawaii against a team that hasn't won a game in 2 years. I'm just not gonna do it. Can't do it. I'll watch a few plays. I lied.
I was going to say, you will be sending us a group text going, did you just – yes, you will be watching.
Wyoming. I mean, is that what
the
Josh
next
Allen
best game is probably, in all honesty,
Did Josh Allen
North Texas, UTEP. That's
Did
probably,
Josh Allen go to Wyoming?
Yeah.
Okay. I know I was – No, I'm trying to
that was a
figure out
nice add-on to take 3.
I'm not. Hey, I'm just saying.
Okay.
Kevin said I will watch a couple, and when I say a couple, I mean a couple, and that's it.
If I make it through 2 drives, I think I'll be doing good.
Are their colors brown and gold? Is that Wyoming? Like brown and gold?
It's like brown and yellow.
Okay.
It's like they didn't know what to do, so they just said, "Well, here's the color of dirt and yellow."
Listen,
we're in Wyoming. They're the Cowboys,
you
though.
already got NC State mad at you.
No, but no.
Now you're saying,
but it's Wyoming. They're the
what to
Cowboys. It's ranch. It's dirt.
Okay, but
like
why
that's
did you
what
say
it
they
is.
Didn't know what to do.
Because because you don't come up with a color scheme like that if you have an idea.
Say it.
Dirt and yellow.
Say
No.
Dirt.
That's not that. That's like, no offense, Bowling Green, orange and brown. Not a great mixture.
Like
Even though I
Browns.
do like the Cleveland Browns uniforms, but I like it because
Okay,
but I like it because they're gross. I didn't say they were great. Like the Browns, I like because it's just gross. Like it's like orange and brown. It doesn't go together. Yellow and brown. That Wyoming can't possibly make a good uniform with that color scheme. They can't do it. The coolest thing about their uniform is the helmet. It's a dude riding a Bronco.
That's a classic helmet.
Okay, but the uniforms, I'm sorry, you can only do so much with the yellow and brown.
Oh, when I was going through the before the show,
you want to know how you know it's gross? Sorry, Ben. You know how I know it's gross? What other school in the entire country has yellow and brown? I'll wait.
That is true.
Didn't the Padres used to be yellow and brown?
Is anybody saying they're awesome?
They got one soda.
Okay.
No, okay.
Go ahead. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
I mean, that is true though, BJ, because you know the color schemes. BJ knows color schemes, and you know mascots. Before the show, when I was breaking down. Somebody was doing the top 25, heated rivalries, whatever. When I was there, I said, I don't know what that is. That was a Wyoming helmet. It's a guy on the Bronco, like he like bucking on the Bronco County. I guess. Yeah, that's what it was. All right, brown and gold.
Cool helmet, bad colors. That's all.
There it is. And
it's not gold. It's like yellow.
And Wyoming's going to do some big things in their conference. They're going to ask Kevin to come out there and speak. And I said, Kevin,
hold on a second. What conference are they in? Do any of us know?
Mountain West.
I believe they're in the Mountain West.
Okay, because I didn't know.
If Wyoming invites me, I will go out there. Wyoming, beautiful state. Their color scheme is not good.
The Kevin Thomas speaking tour, you go to NC State.
Yeah, I'm about to say, when NC State asks you to come through.
They would accuse me of plagiarism because I'd be like, in the words of your own coach, thank you very much. And then I would leave. Anyway, no, that's right.
The check has cleared.
No, but if Wyoming asked me, I would go and I would have a good time. I'd say, but listen, can we do something about the color scheme? That's all. Like, can you just be all brown?
I'm just saying, I'm not inherently disagreeing with you that it isn't the best looking uniform in the country.
No, it's not.
It's the way you introduced it. You said they had no other idea, so they just did this.
They didn't.
How do you know this wasn't their idea?
Because if that's a good idea, you had no other ideas. You can't tell me, look at LSU, look at Florida, look at Alabama, look at Clemson, look at Florida State, and then that's what you come up with? Yellow and brown? Like, no.
We don't want to get into that beautiful orange and blue scheme. It's too many.
I'm saying like there's a lot of games where it's visually pleasing to the eye. When Wyoming is wearing brown and yellow, I'm like, I gotta change the channel because my eyes hurt. It's dirt and yellow.
You like the Browns uniforms
because they're gross.
So ugly.
They're gross. But this is yellow and brown. Like Bowling Green, when they wear brown and orange, it doesn't look good either. But this is yellow and brown. It's disgusting. Name a worse uniform in Division I.
Disgusting.
It is. Well, who has a worse uniform than that?
I don't really feel like I call out people for having bad uniforms.
Why? I have nothing against their team, but you say their uniforms are bad. It's okay.
I mean, some of the uniforms you think about, like, I don't know, like Oregon State, Iowa State.
I would say Oregon State's better than Wyoming. Iowa State better uniform than Wyoming. And I agree, Iowa State's teetering on that line of it's not really gold. It's not really. Yeah, that's gross. No. Then just show me the why. I mean, yeah, they do better. Why?
Everybody try to put the visor on the player to make it look nice.
I would be willing to bet if you can go find me a top 10 worst uniforms list, that's got to be on there somewhere. I mean, it is. This is not a good color scheme. It's not pleasing to the eye. It is what it is. I'm going to let it go. I'm going to let
top 10 worst uniform. Might as well do it now.
That's fine. I'll eat crow if somebody says it's not in there, but I don't know how many could be worse than that. There's not many. All right, moving along. Take 3. Can Desmond Ridder do anything tonight to change minds and possibly start when it's all said and done?
I think to change minds and increase his playing time, yes. To maybe create a situation where there are specific packages for Ridder and maybe he has 2 or 3 series a game where he gets in, yes. To be the starter, to have a great preseason game tonight and then maybe however much he plays and get, I don't think so. I just think you brought in Marcus Mariota to be the bridge quarterback, even if that sounds disrespectful. You brought him in to kind of be the guy, to be a veteran. I know y'all are looking up worst college football uniforms.
I just got a text of somebody saying you don't like Wyoming's Duffy brown and yellow. No, I don't.
All right, do you want me to finish my take or
go ahead?
I'm just asking both of you. Okay, because you turn the whole thing.
Yeah, Desmond Ridder, go ahead.
I don't think he can be the starter. I don't think there's anything he can do to be the starter. I think Mariota is going to be the starter in week 1, but can he increase his playing time in the regular season with good showings in the preseason? Yes.
Yes, Desmond Ridder will not. I mean, he will not be the starter. He can go out there and make sure that he showed that he's ready, game ready whenever the real games do start. But I do think Marcus Mariota is here to make sure that make sure that Desmond Ridder doesn't play none this season. He's gonna look good. But you got to look at the competition. When the competition has changed dramatically by the time Desmond Ridder gets in the game. Now, if he gets first-team snaps running out there, that would be totally different. But he's out there with a bunch of guys that's not going to be on NFL rosters. While he can show that he has gotten better in the preseason, he has gotten better, from preseason game 1 to preseason game 2. But outside of that, he cannot do it. Now, on the better news, I went through the top 25 worst uniforms in college football. And I was like, Kevin gonna have to eat crow. Then I got the number 22. And it is Wyoming.
Okay, but they're saying they're 21 worst uniforms?
I find that hard to believe.
Well, hold on. This is the thing, right?
Who are the 10 worst uniforms?
Okay. Here go the 10 worst. Number 1, Texas A&M. That's
not the worst.
They said the ugliest.
That's the number 1?
Number 1. Number 2, West Virginia. Number 3, UConn. Number 4, Kentucky. Number 5, South Carolina. Number 6, Colorado State. Number 7, Northwestern. Number 8, Air Force. Number 9, Rutgers. Number 10, Western Kentucky. Look at your top 10. Now, but I will say this, though.
All of those are way better than Wyoming.
Okay.
All of them.
I went down number 22, Wyoming. Number 23 is Southern Mississippi. I can
at least hear that. But no, Wyoming's are worse.
And the word
they're unique. I agree. It's not the most aesthetically, but they're.
It makes my eyeballs hurt.
What did your text say? Somebody texted you about it.
Duffy brown and yellow.
That is Iowa State. They're
Yes.
Yeah.
Look, Iowa State is not helping anybody out with the color scheme. That's still better than Wyoming. At Pigskin Radio, somebody name one that's worse than Wyoming. I'm telling you. I don't think you could do it.
I mean,
name a uniform.
UConn. I think
UConn is pushing the limit. I get it. It's pretty boring. There's a C on the helmet. That's it. Like, okay. Brown and yellow is visually offensive. It is. That's why they're the only. How many brown and yellow teams are there in the National Football League?
Brown and yellow? 0. Brown and yellow?
Brown and yellow is visually offensive. It shouldn't be. Nobody wants to cut.
They got Princeton on here. Princeton looks really, really similar to the Bengals. Like really, really from the shoulder pads.
Like the Michigan helmet.
It's like so. Hey, I mean, listen, Kevin.
I'm telling you,
Kevin does not like Wyoming colors.
No, I like Wyoming football. I think it's interesting. They're out there on the plains. You get into October, November. Sometimes you get snow games. It's awesome. Their uniforms hurt me to watch. I can't do it.
Well, maybe they like them.
Well, they need to get a redesign. That's all I'll say. Here, fine. At Pigskin Radio, tell me where I'm wrong.
I'm not saying I like them.
Tell me where I'm wrong. Find somebody that's worse than Wyoming. You can't do it. It's 3 and out. That's take 3 all across the Southern Pigskin Radio Network. Great to be here with you on 3 and Out. Kevin Thomas. PJ Zuko screaming in the other room, walk it off, PJ. Walk it off. I know what PJ was doing over there. Anyways, Dave Choate going to join us. Coming up with the Falcoholic, we're talking Falcons football in about 10 minutes here on 3 and Out. They got the Jets tonight, preseason game number 2. But the Braves, again, lost yesterday in the last game of the homestand, but a winning homestand. You gained a little bit of ground on the Mets. Now can you do it? You've got the Pirates. You've got the Cardinals later this week who are really good. They're trying to compete there in the Central. And the Mets right now have the Yankees. And the Yankees have been awful. As a matter of fact, I think they said in the last, whatever stretch is, maybe the last 20 games, the Yankees have been one of the worst teams in all of Major League Baseball. So when you say, who would you rather play, the Yankees or the Pirates? It might be a close call for both the Braves and the Mets at this point. But can you gain a little bit of ground? Again, I think right now it's about chipping away and just seeing if you can get a game or 2 here and let the Mets keep thinking about you hanging out in that rearview mirror right now.
Yeah, you can't worry about the Mets. And you would hope, though, that the Yankees can bounce back a little bit. I mean, they were so good for so much of this season before they've hit this lull, and maybe playing the Mets can bring the best out of them and they can win that series and help you out. But you've got to worry about you, and you've got to worry about beating the Pirates. And I know we say that. We go, oh, Braves and Pirates, so that's going to be a sweep. But you got to go out and make that happen. And the Pirates have a lot of young, talented prospects up. You were telling me about a 6'7" shortstop.
Yeah, O'Neal Cruz, yeah.
Yeah, that apparently has great power. I mean, you got to find a way to beat the teams you should beat. If you're going to win the division, you have to beat the teams you should beat. And you should win each of these games against the Pirates. I think you have a day game on Wednesday. You have tonight, tomorrow, and then a getaway day game on Wednesday. You've got to win these 3 games. The Pirates stink. The Pirates don't have anything to play for in terms of postseason aspirations. Yes, they're bringing up young guys. Yes, they may be good in the future, but right now they're not. You've got to win these games. And I told you, coming into the break, Kevin, I haven't been overwhelmingly impressed with Jake Odorizzi. Now, to be fair.
Well, now he's pitching against the Pirates.
Right. To be fair, a couple of times he's been out there, it's been against, he's had 2 starts against the Mets. I think he's had maybe 1 more, but 2 of his 3 starts have been against the Mets. And he did not have a great outing the last time out.
Pitched better against the Marlins.
Marlins. But you're 4-5 with a 4.15 ERA. And if you're going to be an every 5th day starter for a team that hopes to win the division, you got to be a little better than that. And hopefully this is one of those series. This is one of those games where you can get right a little bit. Now, I mean, the Pirates, Roansy Contreras, he's got an ERA at what, 4.02. He's 3-3. He's been serviceable at least. So I'm not saying it's going to be easy, but Ben, you know this, when you're the better team, you've got to go out and win these games, even in a sport like baseball where it's tough to sweep. You've got to find a way to do it.
Yeah, and the Braves got to get used to being the barometer. I know that, Kevin, as you mentioned, the Yankees are, kind of struggling right now. The Braves kind of showed what they made of, how they was able to go out there and get win 3 out of 4 against the Mets. Obviously, had a really, really good series against the Astros. Now you get a Pirates team. Teams always have something to play for when they play against teams like the Braves. The Braves, they got, top to bottom, even with the Marcell Ozuna, stuff going away from the field, they still find a way to get dubs. And like you said, Kevin, they're just in the Mets review. I know at one point the Braves realized, at one point, man, we was in their review and they drove off from us, caught them. They kind of embarrassed us, came back, in the homestand, they got, won 3 out of 4. Whenever you can win a game against the Grom, if that doesn't boost your confidence, obviously the Astros team is going to be, really, really good, big time postseason aspirations. But like you mentioned, BJ, you're supposed to be bad teams. Like, no one's supposed to be looking up saying the Pirates just beat the Braves. No, I don't care what, we talking about the Pirates bringing up young guys. So are the Braves. Some of the Braves' key contributors are young guys, 21 years old. One of them just signed an 8-year, $72 million deal, and the other guy, he's lights out. He showed you he's incredible with his glove, incredible with his bat, incredible with his base running. So, yeah, Grissom, what they call them, the troublemakers? Hey, I'll deal with it. You don't like it? So, yes, Grissom, and Harris and coming, Matt Olson, he got a homer the other night. So, I think that the Braves are finding their stride, and they already let the Mets know, look, we We've gotten better as the season went on, but yeah, they got the Pirates and they got the Cardinals. I think they're playing Sunday night, if I believe, against the Cardinals. And that's the thing. You're still getting primetime games this late in the season. Yeah. That shows how great of a team, not good of a team you are. But yes, Kevin, I do agree with BJ. You got to beat the bad teams.
Sure.
No one wants to hear about, that got away from them. No. Make sure the bad teams remain bad teams and let these young guys continue to be key contributors.
Yeah, you kind of had the tale of two players this weekend as well. You had Ozuna with the Braves, which obviously a lot of people, he got booed soundly in his 2 at-bats, struck out both times, go sit down, then pinch hit for later. I don't know what his future is going to be with Atlanta. And again,
I've seen a lot of people ask and heard a lot of people. What are the possibilities?
I know what people want, and I would say I get it. He's had multiple off-the-field issues. Just cut him. Braves are not going to eat $41 million. Like, as much as you say, just let him go. And I said this to Ben. Easy for everybody to say, just eat $41 million when it isn't my $41 million that I'm paying somebody to not play for. And the fact of the matter is, if you want Ozuna gone, he needs to play so he can hopefully do something to prove to somebody he's worth $5. So you can take at least some of the money. But I mean,
is the ideal situation for the Braves? You find a trade partner in the offseason and you can split some of that salary?
I think the ideal situation is you don't play until you've clinched whatever it is you think you can clinch. Like, he cannot play until you've at least clinched the playoffs. If you don't think you can catch the Mets at that point, let him play. Hopefully he has a good September, and going into the offseason, say, hey, man, he really went through some stuff. He got it back together. We'll take 50%. You take the other 50% and just get him the heck out of here. And I think that might be more amenable than just eat $51 million. And now you have all the Mike Soroka fanboys out there saying, oh, God, he's already up at AAA. He's going to come back. Like, calm down. Like, I love Mike Soroka. He has not pitched in the major leagues. The last time Mike Soroka pitched in the big leagues, nobody had any idea what a N95 mask was. Nobody knew. Unless you worked in, like, the medical profession. Nobody knew. That's the last time he pitched. A lot has happened since then. And people are now like, oh, he's going to pitch in the postseason. Can we calm down? Like, he's coming off an Achilles, not one, not 2 Achilles injuries.
And he's made how many
starts? He's made
in
the
2.
Minors? 1 at low A and another at AAA. Granted, they were very good. And people keep saying this with athletes. Ben, you hear this. Oh, man, he's just a fast healer. Like, no, he performed well in that last time out. Again, I'm not banking on Mike Soroka to be pitching for the Braves in the postseason. I'm not saying it can't happen. I'm just saying I wouldn't bank on it. He's had 2 Achilles surgeries, and he hasn't pitched in the big leagues in 2 years, and you want to throw him in your rotation in a playoff? Look, I'm not saying he can't do it. I'm saying that is asking an awful lot of a young man to come back and say, I need you to pitch for 2 weeks in September, and then you're going to jump right in there in the playoffs. Like, I think that's a lot.
Pitching well in the playoffs, and I'm sure the Braves are, obviously. But I think you want to do everything you can to make sure he's physically and mentally
absolutely
100%. And I'm not sure you can check that box after 2 minor leagues like half starts. Because if you pitch in September or in the postseason for the Braves, it's not going to be an inning and a third. It's going to be
in the World Series. It could be just because of how they manage it. But
I think you want to make sure he's physically able to go through these starts, recover, recuperate, do it again, and then do that again, and make sure he's mentally in the right place. I mean, Ben, when you had your the foot injury, I mean, did it take you some time to get back mentally beyond just physically?
Yeah, and the thing about it was too, when I broke my foot, and they want to do the insoles and things of that nature. I'm laboring on it. Like, every time I'm going out, I'm putting the insole in, and obviously my teammates or the trainers didn't notice, but I was like, dude, I can't be out here with something that I know. Am I playing well because of it, or it's all in my head? And finally, one day, I just took it off. I was never gonna get back to being me. I got to take this thing off. Took it off. Kind of got my foot stuck in the ground, and then I was like, oh God, because they take my cleat off, they're gonna realize I don't got it on. But it was fine, I think. But the thing about it is, with Mike Soroka, I do agree. It's all about confidence with a pitcher, and it's great that the team is still playing well. But if you bring him back, you're gonna have to put him in a key situation, no matter what it is. And the last thing you want to do is kill his confidence. I think we should be looking forward to 2023, but 2022 is a good sign that he is actually back out there on the mound.
Yeah, and I think a lot of people are like, oh, he pitched really good twice. That means he's coming back. I'm like, just calm down. He is coming back from 2 pretty major Achilles injuries at the end of the day. We got more to come. We're talking Falcons and Jets when we come back. Dave Choate, the Falcoholic, joins us here on 3 and Out on the Southern Pigskin Radio Network. It's 3 and Out. Falcons back tonight on a little Monday Night Football preseason edition against the New York Jets. We'll see kind of version number 2, if you will, of this Atlanta Falcons team. And joining us here from the Falcoholic, Dave Choate joins us here on 3 and Out. Dave, welcome. How are you?
Doing well.
What do you expect to see tonight? I guess just from a general overview, what do you expect to see tonight versus the Jets that maybe was lacking or we didn't see in preseason game number 1?
Yeah, I'm hoping to see a little bit more from Marcus Mariota as a passer, right? Like we saw him run really effectively. We've heard pretty good reports all throughout camp, joint practices, etc., about his arm strength, his ability to connect with these guys, but we didn't really see him a lot. So I think in the limited opportunities he gets tonight, I think what you're looking at is kind of two-pronged. Like, A, how does he look throwing the football? And B, how much time does he have to throw the football? Because we know that the Jets front is pretty good, even if they're not tossing all their starters in, which I know they're debating. So looking to see, how that offensive line holds up, how Ritter does, how Mariota does passer. And definitely looking for more from the defense this time. I expect a better showing, especially because we're not going to see Zach Wilson and maybe all of the offensive starters. But that was a big thing against the Lions, was certainly the defense didn't look up to snuff in a way that I'd like to see change.
Is the starting 5 along the offensive line for the Falcons set, or even this late in the preseason, are there still spots up for grabs?
Yeah, I think it's pretty much set, right? So I think they're going to continue to rotate Dahlman and Hennessy right up until the third preseason game. But I think that all indications are that Hennessy kind of has that leg up on the job. He's done well enough, I think, throughout to have it. And I think unless Dahlman kind of blows the doors off tonight, he's in that spot. Caleb McGarry is pretty well locked in. I don't think he really got much competition for that job. And at this point, I think it's probably too late for Jalen Mayfield to catch Elijah Wilkinson no matter what he does over the next week. So I really think it's not official. We're looking at your week 1 starting 5 already lined up there.
What rookies in his recent class are you looking to make a jump from game 1 to game 2 tonight?
Sorry, I missed the first part of that. Could you do that again?
I said, what rookies are you looking to make a jump from game 1 to game 2 tonight?
Yes. Yeah, sorry about that. So I'm definitely looking, obviously we don't get to see London, unfortunately, but I'm going to have my eyes on Arnold Ebiketie and D'Angelo Malone for sure. I think the pair of them are really exciting pass rushers, something that this team hasn't had in way too long. I thought we saw some good things from both players and their opportunities against the Lions, and I'd love to see how they fare against a Jets, offensive line that's a little bit thinned out by injury and the like. So, looking to see them make that leap. I think they probably will. And I'm looking for Tyler Algier as well. Like that's a big one to me, is how is he going to look maybe with a little bit more run, maybe a little bit earlier in the game, a larger opportunity, because I still think sort of by the end of the year and probably well before, he's going to have a major role in this backfield. And, for me, I think we saw Desmond Ritter do really well. So I'm not sure if I'm expecting like a leap in performance from him, but I would like to see him kind of maintain that consistency, right? He had a couple of ugly throws last time, but he looked like he was in command of the offense. I thought he played pretty well. So just turning in a second straight strong effort there would go a long way.
Dave, you look at this Falcons offense in general, you saw one catch from Drake London. Who do you think is going to be that go-to target when they need a play? Is it Kyle Pitts? I'm sure that's what a lot of other teams are expecting. Who do you think emerges as that go-to guy at the outside spot on the offense?
Yeah, I mean, Pitts is the obvious answer, right? Because he should be the go-to guy anytime you need a completion, because he's just an absolute freak of nature. Like just the speed, the size, the smarts, everything you want in a football player. Like super excited to see what he does next year. But I think the other guy to keep an eye on is definitely Bryan Edwards. He's an underrated player. I think the Falcons really got him for a song. And I think with the opportunity to start, which I'm expecting him to get, he'll emerge as that guy that, like, certainly when it's not going to be Pitts, when it can't be London, he's somebody going to be able to rely on. And I think I'm excited to see what he can do.
A.J. Terrell, Casey Hayward, how good could these corners be for Atlanta?
Pretty special. I think with Terrell, the question is like not how good is he. I think we saw last year how good he is. The question of like, can he have like that historically elite performance 2 years in a row? But even if he doesn't, he's one of the best young cornerbacks in football. So I think you're looking at a guy who is pretty well locked in as a tremendous starter. And I think Casey Hayward, certainly not as young as he used to be, but he hasn't really slowed down. He's still an excellent zone cover corner. He's just a good player, certainly an upgrade over what they had a year ago. So I think that tandem is probably the strongest part of the entire defense. Obviously, Grady Garrett up front is a big difference maker, but he's kind of working alone until we see some of these guys emerge. So to me, they have the upside to be the best cornerback duo in football, and they'll certainly be among the best.
You mentioned that some of the starters for the Jets probably not going to play as much today. How long do you think Mariota and company going to how many reps you think they're going to get today with the second game kind of serving as the old third game for the dress rehearsal?
Yeah, I think it's a great question. And, the Jets are kind of throwing a wrench in things. I think Robert Saleh said he wasn't sure if he was going to throw his starters out there. And so to me, like Arthur Smith is going to put the starters out. I think that's a given. He's kind of promised to do that this year. But if, the Jets aren't doing that and you've got Mike White in the game immediately and so forth, I can't imagine they'll keep them in there that long. I'm still expecting, the first quarter series or two for both the offense and the defense. We'll get a longer look at the starters. If the Jets roll their starters out, maybe we head into the second quarter. But I think it'll still be kind of a short-term thing. They're feeling pretty confident in their group of starters and their readiness. So, get them in there, get a little bit more experience, maybe even prep them to play a tiny bit in the third game as well. But, I can't see it being any kind of extended run, even though it is kind of that dress rehearsal game.
Dave Choate, the Falcoholic, joining us here on 3 and Out. To kind of follow up on that, how much do you think Arthur Smith learned from last year by basically not playing anybody that was going to start in the entire preseason? And how much do these inter-squad practices, I know the Falcons have been working with the Jets for the last 4 or 5 days, how much of that do they actually take as the preseason practice, if you will?
Yeah, I still think it's a big deal to them. And I know, the Jets are sort of talking this way in part because they felt good about the practices. And Arthur Smith, one of his rationales for not doing that a ton last year, playing the starters, was that they had the good joint practices with the Dolphins. So I still think it's a big deal to them. But I also think, looking at it from his perspective, they just were not ready to go week 1 and arguably week 2 against the Bucs too. That just did not look like a football team that had its act together. So to me, I think he learned from that, okay, you've got a pretty young team. You're still, implementing a lot of things in your second year. You've got to get those starters out there and give them a chance to play so that you're ready to go, especially with the Saints coming up week 1. From my perspective, you gotta be ready for that one, even more so than, any other team. So I really do think that he kind of absorbed that lesson that they simply weren't ready. They need this time. And while the joint practices are a big deal, and maybe it does in combination with what we see tonight, make him more willing to sit the starters in the third game. But I think it's important that they got more time this year after what happened last year. And I'm glad that that's a lesson they took away.
For teams that have struggled in recent years, like Atlanta, do you think any real momentum can be gained in the preseason? And I guess I'm asking that in terms of winning. Like, does winning a game matter? Does it give you momentum at all? Or in the preseason, is it all about just situational evaluations?
I think it really is about situational evaluation. I do think, when you're the Falcons and you're kind of a little bit touchy about the culture piece, right? Dean Pease has been saying, we don't want to think of ourselves as an average defense, or we're just okay. And, Arthur Smith has really taken aim at the predictions that they're going to be a bad team. So from that perspective, winning in preseason probably does give you a little bit of a shot of confidence that even if it's backups, third stringers, your guys are playing better than their guys, you're doing some things well that a year ago in preseason and several years before that really with the Falcons, you haven't been doing. So I do think that is a nice boost of confidence, but I do think primarily you're talking about just getting ready, taking a look at things, determining your roster. And, even if they went 3-0 this year, I don't think it's going to set them up for any particular success. I think preseason just isn't predictive that way.
And I know you mentioned earlier that, Desmond Ridder showed a lot of flashes in week 1. Obviously, he's going to get a chance to show his improvement in week 2. Is there any possibility with everybody seemingly liking the new guys? I know that Marcus Mariota, when he got, when he came in saying he's going to be the starter, people saying, is he ready? Hasn't played football in a long time. Is there any outside shot that if Desmond Ridder continues to, dazzle us, does Desmond Ridder get named the starter week 1, even if it is New Orleans?
Yeah, I can't see it happening. Like, it's a really interesting thought to me because, I think that Ridder showed up based on the practice reports we had heard. He showed up way more in that first preseason game than I expected him to. He looked sharper and more ready. And I think if you continue to see that over the next couple of games where Ridder really looks better than Mariota, whether that's likely or not, I think there would be a lot of us saying, interesting to throw him out there because, at this point he's looking like the future. You really need that bridge quarterback. But I think the Falcons themselves will resist doing it. I think they're pretty married to Mariota having the starting job. They're comfortable with him. Arthur Smith knows him, and I think they want to get through that first 7 or 8 game stretch that looks pretty brutal, with the vet under center and give Ridder the time to develop. So I think, I would be sorely tempted if I was Arthur Smith to play Ridder if he continues to play really well, but I just don't think it's going to happen.
Dave Choate, the Falcoholic, our guest here on 3 and Out. Dave, appreciate the time. Thanks so much.
Thank you. Take it easy.
Dave Choate, the Falcoholic, Falcons and Jets coming up tonight. Monday Night Football preseason game number 2 for the Atlanta Falcons. We're coming back with more. It's 3 and Out on the Southern Pigskin Radio Network. Good to have you here, 3 and Out on this Monday. A lot to come here in the final hour, right around the corner, fellas. We got Bob Harig, Chris Lowe of ESPN.com. Bob Harig, SI.com, covers golf. It's been a wild year in the world of golf. He'll talk with us about that. And Michael the Burner Turner, former Falcons running back, will join us, and we'll talk about the Falcons and the Jets tonight. And running back is a spot that could use some consistent help, right? You got a wide receiver playing running back. Tyler Algier is a rookie. We'll see. And Damian Harris is kind of that bruiser back in between. So what do you see there at the running back spot? We're going to get a chance to talk to Michael Turner about that.
I think it needs to be consistent. I think while Cordell Patterson is definitely a guy that gives you a lot of versatility, they want to find a way to get the best athletes on the field at the same time. He doesn't give you enough consistency to scare people off. I mean, he had his best year ever in the pros last year, and that's because he was able to pull double duty or triple duty if you look at what they was able to do with him in the kick return, punt return game. But you're going to need consistent rushing attacks in between the tackles. I think it's going to help an offense that's definitely searching for an offensive identity at this point.
I think a lot of it, Kevin, Ben, is going to depend on the offensive line. I mean, if you can't block consistently, I know there continue to be questions up front, but when you think about the offensive line, it's not just about protecting the quarterback. It's about opening up rushing lanes for the running back, and I think that continues to be a major question mark for the Atlanta Falcons.
Line of scrimmage play. I mean, whoever can create a new line of scrimmage, whoever can get a push on third down, whoever can stay on the field to make sure Marcus Mariota, Desmond Ridder going to be protected is going to decide. I mean, with all this, Kyle Pitts, London and Tate, all these, and there wasn't these guys. It don't mean nothing if we can't push guys. If we can't push or move other grown men around against their will, it's not really going to matter. So once again, O-line, D-line play will be the key factor.
We're coming right back. Chris Lowe will join us next, talking college football. It's 3 and Out on the Southern Pigskin Radio Network. Final hour of 3 and Out, full show here in the final hour. Bob Herrig, Michael the Burner Turner going to join us here in the final hour, and college football is coming up on Saturday. Actually, Vanderbilt going to be in action against Hawaii, so you have some SEC football. And joining us here from ESPN.com, covers college football, Chris Lowe joins us here on 3 and Out. Chris, welcome. How are you?
Great. Good to be with you guys.
Hey, appreciate you coming on and joining us. Obviously, college football now versus college football a year ago. We're a completely different spot. Big Ten's going to get bigger. Talks of getting even bigger than that. And just the ever-changing world of college football. And you look at the SEC and a report out that it looks like, Chris, they could settle on a 9-game conference schedule once Texas and Oklahoma make that transition. What do you make of that? And how does that change the dynamic of what a lot of people say is already the toughest league in college football?
Texas and Oklahoma are supposed to join the league in 25. I think it could be a year earlier. I think it could be 24 when they do it. They get something worked out with the Big 12. And one of the things the SEC has to do is they have to figure out their scheduling format. There's a lot of momentum right now to go to 9 games from 8, which I think has sort of been a long time coming. It's and certainly with 16 teams, a conference that big, if you play 9 games, you're going to play teams more often. And a 9-game schedule would probably be a 3-6 format, which means a team would play 3 of the same teams every year. So if let's say you're Alabama, you play Auburn, Tennessee, and Missouri every year. And then you rotate the other 6 throughout the rest of the league. And I think that gives you more of a chance to, A, maintain rivalries, and B, play schools more often. Look at Georgia, for instance. Georgia has not played a game against Texas A&M in College Station since Texas A&M joined the league in 2012. That to me is not very representative of a conference. So I think being able to go to 9 games gets away from that type of flaw in scheduling. And I think the other thing it does is it provides content for the league to go to TV networks and say, hey, look here, another SEC league game. So maybe we're going to have, more chances to play Oklahoma and Georgia, Alabama and Texas. The TV networks, I think, as they start to renegotiate rights and TV deals, are certainly going to want to jump on that type of thing.
If the SEC, Chris, does go to the 9-game schedule and you're talking about another, in theory, very difficult game, could that impact some of the year-end rivalries? I mean, would you still have South Carolina playing Clemson and Florida playing Florida State and Georgia playing Georgia Tech, Kentucky, Louisville, or would some of that maybe be impacted?
Well, that's been one of the questions as they've debated this over the last year, because schools like Carolina and Clemson, Georgia and Georgia Tech, Florida State, they don't want to end those rivalries. I think when it's all said and done, those rivalries will continue. The interconference rivalries will continue to exist. I don't see a situation or scenario where Clemson and South Carolina don't play every year. I don't see that. And yeah, it gets harder, a school like South Carolina, because you're playing Clemson every year. Clemson's been a top 10 team, for much of the last decade. And so if you add that 9th SEC game in your South Carolina, well, yeah, you got to play Clemson too. Florida State's been a little bit down, but I was talking to Florida Athletic Director Scott Strickland last week. He's in favor of going to 9 games in the league, and I think even doing so, then there's no talk, or I don't think there's any desire to quit playing Florida State. You can't speak for every school. I think Kentucky and Louisville are probably going to continue to play every year. Georgia Tech. Georgia has gone out and played a couple times, even with Georgia Tech on its schedule. Georgia typically still goes out and plays. They played at Notre Dame a few years ago. They're playing Oregon this year to start the season. So a lot of these schools, even with those type of rivalries, still go out and play those marquee Power 5 non-conference games.
And Chris, you look at like right now, these season opener games seem to be like big time matchups. A Florida State will play LSU, or Georgia play or Oregon. If they go into 9 games, what does that mean for the teams that need to play these SEC schools for their, to be able to get money into their program? Does that hurt them even more? Because it seems as though that these teams, outside of the 9 games, they want to get more of a college football playoff or a bowl game type atmosphere with these P5 teams during the year.
Well, let's say you still play 12 games. So if you play 9 conference games, and let's take Georgia, for instance, or let's take whoever, Alabama. Alabama plays 9 conference games, and let's say they play also that year they play Michigan or Ohio State. Well, that's 10 games. You still got 2 games to play with. Even if you were to play 2 non-conference Power 5 teams, you would have a 1 game to play with. And I think most of the schools, want to try to take care of schools in their state, FCS schools or other schools. You call them bye games. So I think there'll still be room to do that. It just maybe not quite as much wiggle room, or you won't have as much flexibility to be able to do that. But I look at some of these schedules now. Do you guys realize that North Carolina this year will open the season against Appalachian State at Appalachian State, and the next week they play at Georgia State in Atlanta. So you're starting to see more games like that. The Power 5 teams who typically would never go on the road to a Group of 5 team. Now that's rare that you see it do it. You do that twice in 1 year. But that was one of the things about this season. As I looked at sort of the schedules back a month ago, what jumped out to me was that the Tar Heels were actually going to 2 Group of 5 schools to open the season and play both of those schools on the road.
Chris Lowe, ESPN.com, joining us. And Chris, we are days away from the start of the college football season. Still a week out from the first full weekend of college football, but you look at that week 1 with Notre Dame, Ohio State, you got Georgia, Oregon. There's a lot of matchups that could shake some things up in terms of the postseason, right, in week 1.
Yeah, and I think, everybody points to that Ohio State and Notre Dame game, and Notre Dame's going to, I think, really be a solid program under Marcus Freeman. I don't think this year, though, they're a top 5 team. I know they were ranked in the top 5 or 6 in the preseason poll. I'd be surprised if they end the season in the top 5. Now, Ohio State, on the other hand, will have the best offense in college football. They will be lights out. You're talking about a team that will score, or certainly be capable of scoring 40-plus points every time they hit the field. I don't know that there's a better triumvirate quarterback, running back, receiver than what the Buckeyes are going to put on the field this year. So if anybody's going to break that SEC stranglehold this year, the Georgia, Alabama, they played twice for the title in the last 5 years. I think Ohio State's the team to do that. So Ohio State, to me, is a class, and I think we'll win that game. But you know what? The underrated game that weekend, though, to me, is Utah and Florida. For 2 reasons. Number one, we get to sort of see Billy Napier, his debut as Florida's coach, which I think a lot of people are going to be watching that game pretty closely. And then for Utah, can Utah be that team in the Pac-12? They ended last season very strongly. Can they be that team in the Pac-12 that makes a bid to get in the playoff from out west? We haven't seen but 2 Pac-12 teams make the playoff. Can Utah be that team this year that breaks through? And certainly by winning a game on the road against an SEC school would be a big check mark in their resume.
Chris, in the SEC, if we all assume that in some order Alabama and Georgia are the 2 best teams, who's the 3rd best team in the league in your mind?
The 3rd most talented team is Texas A&M, and now they've got to play that way on the field. Everybody knows what kind of recruiting class they brought in this year, and haven't had a chance to watch them practice. There's a lot of talent in that class. I mean, sometimes it's hype. Sometimes we all get caught up in stars and ratings. There's a lot of kids in that class that will play this year and help Texas A&M a lot. They still play in the West. That's a brutal division. I don't think they're ready to break through and beat Alabama, but I think they all are a team this year that will, and I think at the end of the day, will win double-digit games. In 2023, though, I think A&M is that team that everybody better watch for. I think 23 may be the year that they are a bona fide national championship contender, but I do think the Aggies are the 3rd best team. If it's not the Aggies, I would not sleep on Sam Pittman in Arkansas, even though they have a brutal schedule this year. LSU, to me, will be better than most people think because they have talent, and typically LSU has been able to flip it a lot quicker. They're in Baton Rouge and other teams. And I look in the East, and sorry, if you were picking the 2nd best team behind Georgia, you probably could make a case for 3 or 4 teams: Tennessee, Kentucky, Florida, and even South Carolina. I think South Carolina is a team that has added a lot of pieces there on offense. They brought in Spencer Rattler, who I think will play with the biggest chip on his shoulder of any player in America this year, coming over from Oklahoma. I really think that the Gamecocks, that second game, their first SEC game on the road against Arkansas, in a lot of ways, will set the tone for their season.
You mentioned Spencer Rattler. You talked about Florida, with a guy like Anthony Richardson, Will Levis, Stetson Bennett. I mean, Hendon Hooker. I mean, the SEC East quarterback play is going to be lights out top to bottom. Who do you think is going to have the best season out of those guys this year?
Well, Bryce Young's the best, and I know you didn't mention his name. He's the best player, but you're right. This has a chance to be across the board as good as the league has been at quarterback. And a lot of those guys you mentioned are guys who started their careers elsewhere. Hendon Hooker did at Virginia Tech. Will Levis did at Penn State. Anthony Richardson. Now, two guys that I really am excited to watch play this year are Anthony Richardson at Florida and KJ Jefferson at Arkansas. Two big, strong athletes who can throw the football. Guys that, when it's third and short, you're down in the red zone, they can beat you a couple different ways. Jefferson probably has the edge and experience because he played the whole season last year. Richardson just played sparingly. But both of those guys, I think at the end of this year, a lot of us will be looking back and say, Richardson and Jefferson both were sort of breakout players at the quarterback position in college football.
Chris Lowe, ESPN.com, our guest here on 3 and Out. College football is back this Saturday. Chris, appreciate the time. Thanks so much.
You bet, guys. Take care.
Chris Lowe, ESPN.com. And again, we'll have football this Saturday and then starting next Thursday, all the way through that Labor Day Monday. It's just going to be to go back to a Ben Troop throwback, a smorgasbord of no, but you said smorgasbord. A smorgasbord of football for us to take in, BJ. Well, go ahead quickly.
I'm ready.
We'll come back. We'll switch gears. A lot has changed in college football. A lot has changed in the world of golf. Bob Herrick said, hey, remember when we were talking about Brooks and Bryson? Yeah, nobody talks about that anymore. A lot has taken place in a year on the PGA Tour, and he'll join us next. It's 3 and Out on the Southern Pigskin Radio Network. Good to have you back. Here it is, 3 and Out on this Monday. Kevin, BJ, and Ben. And the golf world continues to turn. And our next guest has a column out on SI. Said, hey, remember Bryson and his feud? Yeah, a lot has changed. In Bryson Brooks, a lot has changed in a year. Bob Herrick, SI.com, and author of Tiger and Phil, joining us here on 3 and Out. And Bob, it seems like for 2 months it's been something different every single day with the world of professional golf.
That's for sure. To be honest with you, I've never seen quite this much news and conjecture and frankly, angst in golf. It's been one thing after another for months, and I don't think it's going to slow down here anytime soon, frankly.
Bob, in your heart of hearts, when all this got started, did you think it would get to this point where you have guys suing the PGA Tour and just such bad blood between the LIV guys and the PGA Tour guys? Because I know a lot of folks thought, oh, this LIV thing is never even going to get off the ground.
Yeah, I mean, I knew it was going to be disruptive because the money behind it gives them the ability to do things that other people can't do. And while I'm not sure I thought they'd launch here or they'd get started, I knew once they did, the possibility existed for lawsuits. I think that's part of the LIV mandate. They believe the tour is monopolistic. They believe that they restrain trade. You've already seen it with that. So none of that is surprising to me. I am maybe surprised it's gotten this contentious. As I've written, as I've said, I try to stay in the middle, but to be fair, even if you hate LIV, you have to understand how something like this had a chance. And the reason it has a chance is because there's a good section of PGA Tour players who feel that the tour hasn't done right by them. And whether it be guaranteed money or taking care of the stars or what have you. And so here we are. We're in this situation where guys were willing to leave the relative, sanctity and I would say, safety of the PGA Tour for this upstart league that's paying tons of money.
So, Bob, what is the PGA Tour doing now, or what has the PGA Tour done to, I guess, try to counter some of the golfers going to LIV? What changes have been made, and are there more future changes potentially in the works?
Well, a couple of months ago, they announced enhancements to their schedule for next year. We're going to see a fairly significant increase in some purses, the Tournament of Champions in January, the Genesis, the Arnold Palmer, the Memorial, the Match Play are all going to get bumps up to $20 million. The playoffs are going to shrink to 70 players. So the first two playoff events, the St. Jude in Memphis and the BMW just concluded. Those are going to have $20 million purses. The first one's only 70 players. The second's only 50. So that's a lot of money. And obviously you're then trying to get into the Tour Championship. It's a lot of money. And so, that's significant, but I'm not sure it answers the question of, what about the idea that if I don't perform, I get nothing? And what about the idea that I might bring a lot of value to the tour, but if I'm not in the top 30, I'm not really getting a lot of money. At least that's the argument on the other side. And so now, there's been some conjecture about more of these limited field events with no cuts, which, of course, that's what LIV is doing, and they're being criticized for it. So I'm not exactly sure what the right answer is. To me, I think an easy solution would have been a few years ago if you found a way to give everybody starting out the year $150,000 to start, based on where you finished the year before. Maybe if you're in the top 30, it's 250. Just something that signifies that you're a tour player, and we feel that you shouldn't have to pay your way to go to all these tournaments. Because let's be honest, A lot of these guys are part of the show for a couple of days, and then they might not get anything.
And Bob, obviously, when you look at the fact that, like you said, when it comes to the Live Tour, being able to take care, guys are going to get the money no matter what. They're taking care of their caddies. They're taking care of their families and transportation and things of that nature. Do you see the PGA trying to adopt something like that? I mean, for the average person, the cost it takes to be a professional golfer is significant. Not everybody has sponsors. Not everybody is a big name or a top, 50 golfer in the world. Is the PGA, I don't know if the PGA and the Live Tour are going to find a way to coexist down the line, but do you see the PGA saying, look, if we want to keep some of these guys, we're going to adhere to some of these things that the Live Tour is doing outside of the fact that they're making these purses a little bit bigger?
That's the problem. I don't think it's that easy. Like what Live is doing is, paying their way. I mean, you can't pay for 150 players and 150 caddies every week if you're the PGA Tour to travel, put them up in a hotel. That's a lot of money, and that is, you'd have to lower purses. I mean, the Live only has 48 players and caddies to worry about. So could they do those? No, I don't think there's anything the tour can do to combat Live in terms of trying to match the money. That's just not going to happen. But they can do some things that would make it less likely that you'd go, and by increasing some things, and or the other option is to try to work with them somehow, which doesn't look like it's very possible at this moment. But stranger things have happened in the world, and frankly, I think that's an avenue that they should explore, because the one thing that's not going to happen if you don't work with them is you're not going to get your players back. And some people say, well, let them go. Who cares? Well, I happen to think that these tournaments right now would be a lot better if Bryson were playing and Dustin Johnson and Kevin Na and Brooks Koepka. I think they'd be better tournaments, and so you're gonna forego having those guys forever. The only way to get them back is to have a system that allows for them to do both, and that's going to require compromise on both sides. I think it's possible, but the longer it goes on and the more contentious it is, the harder that will be.
Yeah, Bob, it seems like from the jump, it was these guys are turning their back on the tour to now they're suing us to this and that. And it seems like the play from the PGA Tour players has been, well, let's make sure these guys can't play majors, and let's make sure, they don't get all the world golf rankings and all that. Are those things that eventually the PGA Tour is going to give in on and say, look, the bottom line is we need some of these guys to show up in the majors, and if we have to give them world golf points to make sure they qualify, that just might be something we have to swallow?
Well, that's not the PGA Tour's decision, and frankly, I don't think they care. They just care about their events. I think the majors should care. If I'm a major, why would I not want the best players in my tournament? No, they should want these guys playing in their tournament, and they shouldn't be trying to block guys from playing in the majors now. If they want to make it harder for guys to get in the majors going down the road to force a decision, okay, that's fine. But I mean, to do it out of spite, I think is short-sighted. You're only hurting your own tournament. I think we should want Patrick Reed and DeChambeau and these guys in the majors if they qualified, if they found a way in. And if they're good enough to find a way to get in, why would you want to stop them? It's just because we don't like something doesn't mean we should be spiteful about it. Again, I think this is the PGA Tour's issue. It got to this point because there's enough players out there who think the tour hasn't been doing enough. So I think they have a point. There's probably a point to be made to that degree. So, and again, it's like if you keep going down this road, we're going to have a fractured game. It's just going to continue to have these problems that I don't think are great.
Bob, finally, to kind of finish on that point, is Jay Monahan going to get fired at the end of the day from this?
That's a question that's come up, and I'm not sure this is all Jay's fault. I mean, some of it, the PGA Tour isn't just run by him. He serves for the PGA Tour Policy Board. They ultimately make the decisions. Now he tries to influence them, but I mean they all need to be working together on this. And so they're I don't want to say at fault, but they're part of it too. And to not recognize and put it all on him, I think is not great. Now, if there's a lack of confidence in him among the players, that's not a great thing either. And so that's a tough one. And I'm not sure this is all on Jay, but I can see where there's been some angst as far as he's concerned.
Bob Harig, SI.com, author of Tiger and Phil. Bob, really appreciate the time. Thanks so much.
Glad to do it. Thanks for having me, guys.
Appreciate it. Bob Harig joining us here on 3 and Out. And again, as the golf world turns, I'll continue to say it until they come up with some kind of solution to all this mess and the back and forth, because it is something every single week. We've got more to come. Michael Turner set to join us when we come back. We'll look at the Falcons. They get ready for the Jets, and he'll join us next here on 3 and Out. Good to have you back here on 3 and Out. Falcons and Jets coming up later tonight, week 2 of the preseason. And joining us here, Falcons great, one of the best running backs the Falcons have had, Michael Turner, joining us here on 3 and Out. Michael, welcome to the show. How are you?
I'm doing great, man. Thanks for that introduction, man. You said the best running back the Falcons had?
Hey, facts are facts, man. Michael Turner, Judge. Well, let's talk about this group of running backs because I don't know if any of them fit in that category just yet, but you have Cordell Patterson, Damien Harris, and Algier. What do you kind of think of that core? And out of that, can they find somebody to kind of carry the weight for them?
I think the NFL is not about really carrying the weight anymore. You got a couple of guys that's left like Derrick Henry. Nick Chubb is carrying the weight a little bit over there, but everybody seems to share the load. So it's really not about that. It's a different game today. But I like these 3 group of guys that we got right now in the backfield. I think collectively they can do a good job for the Falcons this year.
Mike, how did you evaluate your production, your game in the preseason? And can these guys use what they do in the preseason as momentum into the regular season?
I came from a different situation. Yeah. So when I was a backup to LT. So I was using the preseason as my way to shine. That was my regular season. So I had to show everything I had. I showed I was productive, running the football, pick up blitzes. Doing anything that I can to help the team produce and be on the winning side. But nowadays, it's kind of hard because not really guys taking that many reps anymore, and I don't know how I really don't know how these guys look at it. But as I said, man, it's always good to look good on tape.
And Mike, how much better does it make an offense, though? I understand when you was there, and they obviously using you to kind of jumpstart the offense. Yes, they had Ryder. Yes, they had Julio. Yes, they had Tony G and those guys. But you was the engine that made it go. I know now they do the running back by committee just so guys are making it now 17 games. If Atlanta can find a steady, consistent running game, how much better does it make a bunch of receivers outside of Kyle Pitts that's looking for a reason to find their way in this NFL?
I mean, it's always good to have a consistent running game. We can't get away from that. Just because you don't have a bell cow anymore doesn't mean that the run game is non-existent. You still need that because, you're still doing play action and things like that. So I don't know if the approach is more, some teams do the approach using the pass game to open up the run game, and some teams use the run game to open up the pass game. It just depends week on how you want to play.
Now they go from 4 preseason games to now 3 preseason games. Mike, you was a bruising back that also had the speed to take it to the house. You being a running back, how would you have wanted to have been used in this preseason now? We're having 3 games. Yeah, you want to get some of the rust off, but how many plays is enough plays for you? Definitely in this, a dress rehearsal game. How many plays do you think would be good for you to say, all right, I got the rust off a little bit. I'm ready for the regular season.
Oh man, to me, the rust was more about the long drives, because, doing 3 and 4 plays is really not getting you really in, football shape for real. It's all about how many drives can we do? Can we do a 10-play drive, 12-play drive? Running in and out the huddle, things like that. That gets you more in football shape with the intensity of being in a real game atmosphere is it's different, Ben. It's totally different than practice.
Michael, you look at this team as well. Obviously, no Matt Ryan. He's moved on to Indianapolis. How do you think this team adapts to just a different style of quarterback? Whether it's Desmond Ridder, whether it's Marcus Mariota, it's going to be a guy that can move the pocket a little bit, tuck it and run it. We saw that in preseason week number 1. How do you kind of change as an offense when that element's brought into play versus Matt Ryan, who that really was not his game at all?
I think everybody's new pretty much. These guys that played with Matt Ryan the last couple of years really wasn't like Matt Ryan's crew. Matt Ryan started in 2008. And then we played with that crew till like 2012, 2013. Then he had another crew that ended up being in the Super Bowl, and then there's a different transition to now. So all these guys are new, so they got to adjust and do what Arthur Smith, has called up for him, and just to that, it's not about Matt Ryan. It's really about Arthur Smith and the organization as a whole.
I know Atlanta's had some changes along the offensive line. You have some young guys who now have some experience. How long does it take for a running back and an offensive line to get on the same page?
Oh man, that's a tough question. Oh man, it's a combination. How good is the running back? How good is the offensive line? But I think I came out. I adjusted well. We had to understand play calling, understand how to execute plays, how to understand runs and the blocking combinations and things like that. You can say we hit it off. When I came, we hit it off the first week because I had 220 yards the first game. So I mean, it's no right. It's no definite answer to that. It's just how well is the coaching, how well is the play calling and the offensive execution and the scheme of what we're doing.
Mike, a lot of young guys is going to be key contributors this year on this Falcons team. I mean, Kyle Pitts, Drake London. You got guys in key roles that have never been in star roles like, Brian Elwes and Alden Tate and those guys. A lot of young guys on defense. If you're in that locker room right now, obviously you're a proven veteran, which means even if you're not a rah-rah guy, coach is kind of going to nudge you a little bit and say, hey, could you say something to him? What does, Michael Burnett Turner say to these young guys, especially when you're going to need these guys to help win games?
And show up and show out. We brought you here for a reason. You're here for a reason. You don't make it to the NFL just by chance. You make it into the NFL by your hard work and dedication that you prove throughout your career from little league all the way through college. So you're here now. No matter how old or young you are, we expect you to play a role in this offense or defense and then step up and play big.
Michael Turner, our guest here on 3 and Out. Michael, always a pleasure, man. Thanks so much.
Man, thanks for having me again, guys.
Appreciate it. Michael Turner joining us here on the 3 and Out. Falcons and Jets tonight in the preseason. From what we've understood, the Jets are not going to play their starters. The Falcons are going to play theirs. So, again, you're not going good v. good necessarily, Ben. What do you learn in this situation? Just try to play mistake-free football and take that for what it is?
No, you're trying to put something on tape. You want to make it look like the starters are playing against guys who aren't starters, because if you out there like lollygagging, not moving the ball down the field, that's going to make you look even worse. You're going out there playing against guys who might not be on NFL rosters in a couple of weeks. You want to go out there and look the part. I know the hardest thing about tape is I am not good enough to just go out there and just go through the motion no matter how many years I've been in the league. I was with the Tampa Bay Bucks, had a cup of coffee with them, and I played with the great Derek Brooks. And when he got the training camp, I'm like, man, look at you, man. You don't really got to do this. He was like, what do you mean, man? He said, my resume is what I've done. He said, I got to update it every day. So if you are going out there today, Arthur Smith is saying, look, sorry, fellas, we don't get the mulligan. That happened last year. I'm going to need you guys to go out there and make me look good. Hopefully, they'll go out there and make the Jets look like the Jets, and they'll look like the better team tonight.
Yeah, the Falcons and Jets tonight. So we will see Mariota. We will see Desmond Ridder. Hopefully see a little bit more of Drake London in this ball game tonight as the Falcons go through NFL preseason game week number 2. Braves and Pirates coming up tonight. The Braves start a road trip trying to chip away at the New York Mets there in the National League East. We'll talk about that and more. This is 3 and Out all across the Southern Pigskin Radio Network, streaming live, ESPNCoastal.com. Hit us up on Facebook, Twitter, and YouTube. You can follow the show along there as well. It is 3 and Out. Braves and Pirates tonight. BJ, your thoughts? I mean, that's an epic take, Ben. I mean, it really is. That might be the best Braves take I've heard from BJ in a long time.
Listen, BJ went to the Coach David Dorn School of Broadcasting, and he says, "Listen, the best interviews when you say less, say even less, and ultimately say nothing at all."
I want to follow up on that because BJ, talk about Vaughn Grissom and Michael Harris. Which do you think has the bigger impact going right now? Right. I mean, look, Ben, I like he is on fire right now. I don't even want to stop. Like Mike Soroka, BJ, you ready for him to be back? I mean, that's a tremendous point, Ben. I mean,
sometimes, Kevin, I just don't have words. I mean, it's almost like what can I say? BJ said it all. You asked about the troublemakers, Grissom and Harris. You asked about Mike Soroka. Do you want BJ? At the end of the day, I mean, I know I try to stay away from it, but I mean, you think your Jazz gonna not pick number 2? I mean, number 1 in 2023? Oh my God!
That is a bold statement. I mean, really is.
All I'm saying is, look, BJ, I know we talk about this a lot, man, but I mean, I gotta say it because I got you. Since you are on fire, I gotta know: do you eat boneless wings?
I mean, that might be the weakest take of all the ones that he's had to this point. But I mean, there are hot takes, and there's what BJ is laying down right now. So I'm glad, folks, you are here to witness this in all of its splendor.
I wanted y'all to have a little fun.
No, at the end of the day, no, BJ, listen, the way you broke down Grissom, Michael Harris, Mike Soroka, and I asked you, do you eat boneless wings? And listen, Dave Dorn is somewhere saying to himself, I like that BJ guy.
We started the show with Dave Dorn, and now it's back to Dave Dorn.
No, because
he said you were Dave Dorn-esque in your response.
Yeah,
it was amazing.
Like people, a lot of people don't know this, but when you were younger, Dave Dorn, like, unless you come to Dave Dorn School of Journalism, and he was like, listen, less is more. I mean, I almost like say nothing. That's the best interviews. I mean, Soroka, Harris, Grissom, boneless wings, double fudge. I mean, it's
I went into double fudge.
We actually the double fudge.
Triple fudge?
Florida State, Jacksonville, Tavon Bryant. I mean, I'm just saying. And you were killing it.
Yes, you've never had so many hot takes just spewing out at one time, and it was amazing. That being said, though, the Braves and Pirates. Come on, look. That being said, Braves and Pirates. Chance for the Braves to kind of crawl back here. Pirates are not a great baseball team. But you got Jake Odorizzi running out there. Like, how do you feel about that coming into tonight?
I mean, like I said earlier in the show, I don't have a great deal of confidence. But to be fair, 2 of his 3 starts have come against the Mets. And the Mets might be the best team in baseball. So clean slate for him tonight. Kind of want to see what he can do against the team that he should have success against. And I'm not saying, listen, when you go against the Mets, you got to pitch well against the Mets. But I do think when you bring a guy over, if that's kind of his introduction, hey, you have a start in New York, then you have a start at home. There's a rain delay and all kind of stuff. And he did pretty well against Miami. So I think there's a chance to kind of hit the reset button. I think there's a chance for him to do well, and I think it would do the whole Braves team well to see him do good. I mean, when you see a guy kind of solidify the back end of the rotation, that positively impacts everybody. But I think the Braves are going to do well. I think you need to sweep. I know, Kevin, I've heard you say for years, the old adage in baseball is just win the series. But I think given who you're chasing and given who you're playing, I think you gotta sweep this series.
I mean, to make no mistake, you'll still take 2 out of 3, but a sweep would be incredible. And I think, again, we've seen this in years past when the Braves didn't win the division. You say, well, they performed very well against the Phillies and the Mets and some of the teams. And then you'd get a 3-game series against the Pirates or the Reds, and you're going, what just happened? Like, why are you playing down to the competition? I mean, but this team, I think Ben has said it, the environment and the culture on this team is one that is different, right? I really, since I think Snit and Acuna and Albies and those guys kind of came in, and you started seeing it developing into a younger team. And this is nothing against Freddie Freeman. And, Acuna even said, like, Freeman was more buttoned up. And I would love to have Freddie Freeman here still. Don't get me wrong. But I think even Freddie Freeman could acknowledge, look, when I came up, it was Chipper Jones and those guys, and it was a buttoned up professional clubhouse. We're going to go out, we're going to do our business, and that's how we're going to treat it. This team, very young, still a professional clubhouse, I believe. I mean, outside of Marcell Ozuna, you haven't got a lot of stuff where guys are calling out. And granted, you're on a winning team, but a clubhouse that still goes about its business, but is going to have a lot of fun in the way they do that and say, look, it's 162 days. I mean, I don't care whether you're doing baseball, your job, this job. If you spend 162 days with somebody, you better have fun with them, right? And this is 162 days plus spring training, plus so it's probably more like 200 days of being around these guys. If you don't have fun, it's going to suck, right? I mean, it's not going to be fun. It's not going to be a pleasurable thing. And this team, I think, generally enjoys showing up and playing baseball with one another. And I think that makes a huge difference in the way they play. And you feel like, look, this team still, I don't think, has lost. Well, they did to the Mets finally in that series. No, they still haven't lost 3 in a row, I don't believe. Or they maybe have lost no more than 3 in a row all season long. And part of that is like, I truly believe this team shows up thinking we're going to win today. And not every team can say that. But you've been on teams who show up, they don't think they're going to win. I think this team thinks every time we show up, we're winning today. And that's, to me, that's so invaluable.
At the end of the day, if you don't think winning makes your life better when you are a professional athlete, ask teams that stink. Ask the teams that they know they're not going to win. I don't care about the draft. I don't care about the momentum. I don't care about the preseason. Grissom and Harris are new guys. Can you tell? No. You can't even tell they new. Dansby Swanson, and I know I'm not speaking for Dansby, but if this is Dansby last year with the Braves, he understands why. Like, he's like, look, man, I get it. They got a young guy. I'm going to cost a lot of money, but I've had about as much fun with the Braves as I can have. And if you can't enjoy this lineup, Kevin is the no-fun police unless it is Grissom, Harris, and they want Ronald Acuna. He will bend the rules because to every rule, their exception. The Braves got 3 of them. Maybe even Austin Riley. I'll take them.
Braves coming up a little bit later tonight following the Danny Britt Show coming your way top of the hour. This is 3 and Out, Southern Pigskin Radio Network.